Give a clap. Righto, Brent Simpson, thank you very much for joining us on the Gypsy Tales podcast today. Very excited to have you here, and I'm stoked to just see the froth level that you have to be here as well. Made some posts this morning on Instagram that I was quite appreciative of.
Yeah, thanks, Jace. I appreciate being here and super excited to be a part of a wonderful podcast that's had so many influential people, amazing athletes, and one in particular, gangster too.
Yeah, that's we were just talking like as you come into the room that you went to jail and Abbo was there and used to hold pads for you. So you've got connections to more people on Gypsy Tales than I probably do.
Oh, it's funny you say that. Yeah, I was having a look yesterday and I had a real sort of think about who might be on here that I've met and know or that I'm sort of buddies with. And yeah, there happened to be a couple of good crew there that definitely know of and been around for a fair bit.
Yeah, so give like a quick spiel, quick rundown of who you are in a nutshell, I guess, and then we can just sort of dive in from there.
Yeah, sweet, righto. So basically I'm a 43-year-old father of four. Grew up on the streets of good old Sydney, originally from the western suburbs, predominantly within a Aboriginal community, or a mission as they called it back then. I grew up in. Come from a pretty full-on background, but I guess these days there's a lot of people coming out that are talking about their past, so it makes things normal, I guess, for me to say this. But growing up sexually abused, physically abused, broken home, crime, gangs, drugs, and up to basically starting a national charity that helps people living with mental health issues and suicide survivors.
It's so crazy. So I got turned on to you by one of our listeners. I got turned on by you just when you walked in the room. But I got turned on to you by one of our listeners, and I hadn't really heard of you before that. And then I started following you on Instagram, shot you a message, and we made this happen. Yeah. But man, since I started following you on Instagram, there's just like such an overwhelming amount of positivity that you seem to want to put out into the world. And for a guy that has been through so much negativity in your life, it is crazy to see that, such an extreme change of the life that you'd come from to not just, because I'm sure there's negativity that enters your mind on a daily basis. 100%. But it's like what you've chosen to focus on and put into the world, I think it's a beautiful thing. And even just, your presence walking in the room and off camera conversation, like you've got so much zest for life, so much energy, and there is just so much positivity that comes out of you. Yeah, it's look,
let's not piss in the woods, fuck, life's tough. I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm okay with me. The years have gone of trying to be somebody or impress somebody or be accepted by a crew. These days it's just fuck, here I am and this is who I am, and the big burly guy covered in tats has got a big heart and actually gives a fuck. And I really, for my own, I guess, well-being and mental health, living with a type 2 bipolar is not easy. I chose nearly 5 years ago to move away from taking the pharmaceuticals that were prescribed to me for so many years. It, had to change as far as I was concerned, and I made positive choices to enable that to happen. And a lot of it came down to, being active. Yeah. With that comes, your positive endorphin release, feeling good about yourself, then, putting out what you portray in a positive way.
Yeah, for sure. Wait, do you want to... I got another chair here that won't squeak. Are you down to sit on one of those bad boys?
Fuck yeah. Here we go. Cut.
Fuck this chair.
It's like a Mack truck, just fucking in the trailer of its shots.
I get some better ones.
Nah, legend.
I'm falling on a budget.
That's where it all begins, but hey.
It's so funny. Probably won't be as comfy, but...
Ooh, that's nice.
Come forward a touch, maybe, if you can.
Oh, for the camera. Yeah, right.
Sorry, mate, I'm fucking you around.
Don't be sorry, it's all good. We right?
Yeah. It's interesting you say that about going off the pharmaceuticals. It really seems like, here, let me.
Oh yeah, for fuck's sake,
Rubik's Cube, bro.
Audio techniques. Audio complicated.
Yeah, audio. Fuck.
Nice.
It seems like more and more people are going off the SSRI type antidepressants, and then I'm not sure what the bipolar medication is, but it seems like there's so much more research out there nowadays about, I guess, the ineffectiveness of those medications.
Look, I've always said it, and I'll continue to say it. It took a lot of time for me to be able to find a balance. Had I not, let me take that back. I was used for many years as basically a guinea pig. Nobody knew what bipolar was back in the day. Predominantly, it was just you're just depressed.
Yeah.
And there was so much more, you know. So they didn't specifically have any pharmaceuticals that were classed as a bipolar medication.
Yeah.
Then they started to play around, and things started to go from real bad to real good to bad again to not so bad. I found a balance within two particular medications that I really sort of stuck with for about 3.5 years, 4 years. Then I realised that, you know, this could be managed without the medication. So I do believe that they did help. I do believe that if you need them, take them. But there is also, I believe, better ways.
So what? Obviously, that bipolar's. I feel like with depression, say if you're someone that's never suffered from depression, I feel like in a way you could kind of relate to depression because everyone's been sad or had periods of time where they've felt like, you know, like you said, life's fucking hard. I think everybody has those times where it feels like they have been sort of beaten down, and you could see what depression is. But I don't think that's the case with bipolar.
Nah, look.
Can you describe it for us?
It's one of them things, Jace, that you try to put in perspective, but may not make a lot of sense to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because there is two types. For me, I'm type 2 bipolar, which basically everything I do is to a fucking extreme. Yeah. Like, whether it be good or bad, it's just, you know, up here rather than a mediocre sort of thing. So for me, that's a hard thing but a manageable thing these days to live with.
Because on the other side pick your poison in a way.
Well, for me,
like with kickboxing or cycling.
Yeah, like with Muay Thai, with the cycling. I mean, they're the things that created a positive for me in my life, both mentally and physically, to be able to go forward and not have to be dependent. But on the other hand of it, there is the other side of bipolar, which is very low lows. The lows, you know, can be so dark that you just don't see an out, which, you know, can end in suicide for a lot of people. You know, I don't like to use the language suffer. We live with, you know, you don't suffer with asthma, you live with asthma. Yeah. You know, so it's also important that we sort of start looking at lived experience, I think, as well, within the mental health space, taking on people's lived experience as opposed to a fucking textbook. Yeah. It's so valuable. I had the honour of speaking in front of 500 clinicians 2017 in Brisbane, National Suicide Prevention Conference. Yeah. And it was about the importance of lived experience. And here you are in a room with 500 fucking clinicians looking up. You're like, who the fuck's this idiot? Yeah. And it was very intimidating. But the moment you started to actually talk the truth about what you live with, their heads were starting to sort of go, wow, okay, here it is. Yeah. Some people, you know, obviously had experienced their hands-on with it, and many others in that room. You know, come on, you can't tell me that they could sit there and tell me what it was that I had or was going through, you know. So
and it's
it was
hard,
an experience
like,
for them.
Even when you get friends that are going through stuff or like depression, like I've got one friend, I've mentioned him a couple of times and I haven't mentioned his name, but he had a really bad breakup and then he really got very low after that, and it was the first time in his life that I think he'd face like an adversity like that. Yeah. He's a super talented, super good looking, like he just everything, he was such a positive dude, so I think it hit him super hard. And I you could see people that would like get sick of him talking about it, where he needed people to listen, and I could almost imagine that it would be like that for a doctor in a way, to where it's like, you know, you're seeing these people all the time. It'd be hard to really put yourself in their shoes.
Well, the whole thing with the doctors is, you know, like, and anybody working within that space, don't become personally attached is the way. But to me,
but it's almost like you have to.
That's what I was about to say.
Really figure out what's going on.
How can you not be attached to somebody's story or moment in their life and actually give them a genuine response or show genuine compassion
and learn from somebody's experience? You've got to really dive into it.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking is a major thing. For so many years, it was sort of shut your fucking mouth, don't talk, you know, and it is, you know, weak to speak. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, you find today, as much as we're still being confronted with some absolutely, you know, heartfelt stories of losing loved ones and friends to suicide, that many people are still taking that next step of putting their hand up, reaching out. You know, it's becoming a topic now where people are happy to have this conversation right now and not be ashamed, you know, like it's okay. I'm fine with it, you know, like my story's been publicly out there for years, but at 43, it took me to 30 before I was willing to talk about it. You know, 30 years, I wouldn't say wasted, but probably could have done a lot more with.
But it's that learned experience, though.
For sure. And, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today had I not walked that path. So
so back to the bipolar thing. Like, are you having swings like on a daily basis where like in the morning you're super happy and then by the afternoon you're like that super low, or is it the kind of thing where it's sort of, it comes in like waves of different like extended periods of time? Like you can go a week feeling really great and then you can spend another week just being super low. Like how does that sort of happen, or is it different for everybody?
My wife will tell you I'm fucking up and down like a yo-yo all the time, but no, I'm only joking. She's been solid with me for 16 years and, you know, like we talk quite openly, her and I, about this. So, you know, there are times there where, for example, I've just had a really intense, probably 18 months of my life, which I'm sure we'll touch on, but there was quite a high-profile case that now is finalised that was looking at sending me back to jail for another 3 years. Which,
oh, really?
Yeah, that had really nothing to do with me. There was no physical evidence, nothing. So here I was coming off a massive high, you know, for some time and achieving great things and helping so many other people, to instantly being hit, you know, with fresh charges and
like pulled back down into the world that you've tried to let go of.
Absolutely hammered, you know, like, and they just went, no, he's been done for importation before. He's got to be linked to these guys because of this and that. It panned out in the end that that's not what ended up happening, which was great, and I'm here now. But the lows that come off the back of that and how it affected me mentally was fucking gnarly. You know, I went to work FIFO, so I'm flying in, flying out. You know, I'm working 3 to 5 week swings.
Whereabouts are you working?
Mate, I was up in North Queensland, so I was building solar farms.
Yeah, whereabouts?
Collinsville.
Yeah.
Childers.
Yeah.
It's been a good experience, but I was dealing with being away from the home life, those that I love.
Yeah, that stuff's taxing.
Passionate about what I was doing because I was providing for my family, but heavily sort of just, fuck, I could be in jail doing years again for something that fucking, you know.
Yeah, it's just weighing on your conscience.
Yeah, it was. So, you know, speaking of highs and lows, that dragged me to an all-time low again.
Really?
But coming off the back of that now, nearly a month since that was all finalised, life's good. You know, I'm able to sort of feel good about what I'm doing. Find that positivity that you're talking about, you know, and really try and, I guess, let people know from my experience that there can be a better day. You know what I mean? What goes down does come up. You just got to fucking hang on.
Yeah. And I imagine with that situation that you've obviously worked so hard once you've come out of prison and then given up that life of crime that sort of put you in that place in the first place. And then to do the cycle across Australia and to just have all of this positive sort of energy going, and then it's I could imagine being in that position that it'd be like, fuck, I do all this and then that life still is dragging at me. It's like, what would it take to just cut that tie, you know? The
biggest thing I think for that too, Jason, was the fact that, you know, I had put my heart and soul into something that I was wanting to build to help change lives and keep people living. That was starting a national charity. So to do that, I had to give so much of me and build so much content and be 100% fucking present, legit, you know, like...
And genuine.
100%, you know, like, it's so easy, and it was that way, you know, when I first got out of jail, and I was like, right, I'm putting it out there. I'm going to be the first in the world to cycle across Australia from Snapper Rocks to Cottesloe Beach, Perth in under 50 days. The backlash that I got from that was, oh, fuck, what's he up to? Who's he rorting? You know, like, it was gnarly, and I'm like... This is heavy, but I had to just sort of deal with that and sort of process it and think, don't react, don't retaliate, just show them when you do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, that's fucking
the
history.
Fucking proof is right there. Yeah. Yeah. That was, and to be honest, for me, like when I was looking into your story, I was just, that was like an instant legitimate thing. I was like, well, fuck, like that is no, you can't fake that. No. You can't fake cycling across Australia.
And the thing was
days.
too, you know, like getting back to just that question before, you know, in reference to how I was affected, I like with everything that went on, I had to basically step away from something that I put so much into and loved, because I felt that whilst I was on bail for, you know, drug charges, serious drug charges again, I couldn't represent something that, you know, was, how can I put it? Not against, because fuck, mental health revolves around it, but it just wasn't right in my eyes, you know. So I chose to step down and not step away from what I love doing, but just to step down from my role.
The official title of it.
Yeah, and it's sort of, you know, I had met with other persons that were supposed to continue on and take that to a new level, and basically, yeah, it's still not happened, and you know, I feel a little bit fucking kicked in the ass, but hey. That's people and that's life. Do
you think that you can get back into it now that
I'm doing it now?
Yeah,
you know, like straight off the back. So I do a lot of voluntary work with the LII program.
Yeah, I saw that.
Love it. You know, young men, 14 to 15-year-old with real struggles, real battles. You know, that fuck, mate, just breaks your heart. But I was one of those kids.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody there to talk to that understood. For me, it was just, you know, build up and just a lot of anger and hate to the world, and these young men, you know, I won't go into too much because obviously, you know, I like to respect their privacy, but you're talking about young men with so much anger and hatred, and next minute, you know, within that period of time, we're all hugging each other with tears in our eyes. Like, it becomes so emotionally, you know, charged.
Yeah.
No one's ever given a fuck about these young men. You know, you're talking about young men with mothers that are prostitutes and ice addicts. They've got different men coming into their house, you know, abusing them, you know. They're looking after a 5-year-old brother while their mother's getting fucking pumped. Like, heartbreaking, you know. And you ask these kids, what do you do? I just stay in my room and play Xbox. Like, that's fucked. But these men turn up for this 12-week program, day in, day out, reaching out for help. And that, to me, is massive, you know. And what a better way to try and change your life than putting your hand up and saying, hey, I need a hand. You know, I need help. So it's really good. I love being a part of it. And now that I've been able to move on from, you know, this, how can I put it, matter.
Yeah.
I you know, I really want to get involved with a lot of the juvenile side of, you know, criminality, juvenile detention. No, I'd like to really sort of start working around that space.
So what do you do with that RISE program? Like, how do you be, and can anyone get involved in that, or how does it work?
Well, look, I've been doing it now for nearly 3 years. So originally it was a part of Project Booyah, which come under the Queensland Police Service. They were volunteers that were assisting young troubled men. It stepped aside from the Queensland Police and become government funded. That was then into the RISE program, which two gentlemen do a massive job doing that, Chris and Gary. And, mate, they've allowed me to, you know, be a part of their program, their young men's sort of stages of I guess, bettering themselves through my lived experience. So, you know, we get in there and we sort of touch base and you know, they watch there's a little short doco on my life, and they'll watch that the day before, and they watch, you know, a couple of news clippings, good and bad.
Yeah.
So they've got an idea of who's walking in the room, you know, sort of walk in and they're like, oh, yeah, far out. Okay, cool. And it's, I just meet and greet, just, how you going, get on their level, break the ice with them. I think they look and go, fuck, this guy's an old bloke, but he's talking to us the way we talk, slapping fives, fuck, it's that. No. So automatically you build that rapport with them.
Yeah.
Then we sit down and we just talk about a little bit about myself. And I sort of like to sit down and just connect with each one of them. I'm big on body language, so being able to see their eyes and, just the way they react to certain things I say, you can generally pick up, who's really in. Yeah, who's holding a lot in and, what might be affecting that young man. And I tend to pay a lot of attention and, if I can be sort of subtle in some ways and sort of harsher in others, to try and just impact it and hit, with a bit of a shock treatment and say, bang, this is where you're going. This is the life that you're living. You don't have to live that life. There is help. We can do things to better your situation.
Yeah.
And it's been a good success. Really, really good success. I had a message come back to me from Gary, one of the program managers the other day, and it was from one of the boys' mums. And it was one of the young men that, really, really was struggling. And it was quite humbling to hear how he went home and just opened up to his mum. And it sort of just changed the dimension of the home life from just a chat. And yeah, it was quite humbling.
It's crazy that just how much proper communication and conversation can actually impact your life when you are in a situation like that,
Hugely.
And I think that's been one of the things that I've really learned just doing this podcast is like how close that you can get to people and how genuine a connection you can form just by having a very open and honest conversation with someone. And I can imagine that, because like even I look back now at my life with my parents and stuff, and like I never really communicated properly. I wouldn't communicate to people because I was a pretty young sort of angry dude as well.
Yeah.
With, some of the stuff that I went through and yeah, there really isn't, you don't get those third party guys that you look up to or that you can look up to that it's like, he gets it. He's been through. Because I remember as a kid that I only ever really had like disciplinary people that would come down on you and that would talk down on you to, in terms of like, you look at schooling and stuff like that. Yep. But it's like, the value of someone coming down on your level, giving you that lived experience and then sort of promoting you to communicate properly. It's a super powerful thing.
It really is. And look.
And you'd think that with kids that have all of those fucking problems that a conversation wouldn't fix anything. But it's 100%. So powerful.
And like I say, there's a couple of years ago, I remember we turned up and there's the young guys and he's the alpha young dude just walking around, got the fucking rollie in the mouth,
Yeah, bad count.
Can't fuck you, that. And I'm just thinking, here we go. He's walking up and he's throwing his air kicks and his punches and I'm thinking, And he comes up, looks me up and down and I thought, oh yeah, nice. Yeah, instantly, there's my fucking target. I'm going to break this young man and I'm going to show him that, he ain't the alpha and everybody here is just equal, and all this is a facade, it's just a mask. And we did that, and he turned out to be just a lovely young bloke that just had this mask as, I wore it for many years. And just, I don't think he realised how much benefit he could get out of just being honest and open.
Yeah.
I refuse to go in there telling stories that aren't mine. I refuse to talk about certain things that aren't necessary. There's a lot in my life that I've experienced that, they probably don't need to know. It's not glorified. It's not cool, but it is what it is and was what it was. And that's my life, So I try to sort of just pull it apart a bit enough to be able to hit them with an impact sort of that's a positive and then, break down that barrier.
Yeah. Man, it's interesting to hear you say that because look, in all fucking honesty, the coolest shit I've done in my life is hyper illegal. You know what I mean? Best. Like it's the most like all the fucking, not all of it, but so much of like the epic shit I've done. You can't fucking do that stuff.
It's so true. And I was only saying to someone the other day, you know, like at 43, I just look back and I go, fuck, you know what, as tough as life was, geez, I did some cool shit.
Got away with some shit.
Fucking got away with plenty.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's hard because like, you know, even like, I mean, I talk about a fair bit of shit on here, but it's like, you can't really talk about it.
No, I'll go to the grave with a lot of shit. Don't worry about that.
And you don't want to be known as like glorifying it in a way either, but like, fuck, it was the fun. There's some fun shit in there,
and
right?
you just couldn't get away with the shit that we did back then today.
Yeah.
You know, even through, you know, like I guess growing up, you know, the things that I was doing, fuck, man, without sort of sounding like a wanker, I mean, we were the original sort of crew of the Sydney City that were jumping in WRXs and Porsches that, you know, used to be all over the news and the People and Picture magazine at 210, 220 Ks going across a harbour bridge in a 911 or a 928S, you know, like fucking just whop after we just ram raided the duty free. Or
and was that a stolen car or your
100%.
car?
No, fucking my car. I only had enough to buy a pair of joggers, and even that wasn't fucking my money. But
that's fucking funny.
Mate, we were like 15, 16, you know, and we were just ruthless. I look back now and I think it's moulded me to be who I am today.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely wouldn't suggest it to anybody to fucking try today.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get away with it. It's just not the way to go. Full stop. But I mean, look, that's my life. That's my history, and you know, like I'm not in any way ashamed of it. I don't look at life as saying, you know, I regret this and I regret that, because, as I said a minute ago, and I'll probably say it another 10 times, I'm sitting here because right now because of you know what path I have walked.
Yeah. So
it's moulded me to be the man I am and to be able to help others through my lived experience, which I love doing.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there is a point where it's like, you know, say if I walked into that rise, you know, and started trying to talk to them kids, it's like I haven't had the kind of shit go down that they've had go down. And it takes, as much as it's like, you know, no one should be a criminal and you don't want to do this and that, but it's like, fuck, like how does a guy like me, I don't have any of those experiences. How am I going to relate to these kids? Like you do need that. I think there is a very positive thing to come from a guy that has made it out the other side and can talk to them, because there is a way now that you can influence them through those experiences that you've had. And it's like some fucking geek like me rolls up. It's like, it's just not the same thing. They need to know, and they also need to know that there is a way out, and you can be as deep in that world as you were and make it out and have a positive impact and do something with your life. Because, I mean, I'm sure there was a point in your life where you just felt fucking worthless and that was all you'd ever amount to.
100%. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I was going to die before I was 21. Ask anyone that knew me. My whole world was just, I'll do whatever I can.
Did you just live like you were going to die?
Fucking oath. Like my world, I had, you know, reality was I didn't give a fuck. And it got to that point where I'd sort of become so numb to caring that, you know, it didn't matter. You know, if I was going to get locked up for it, well, I was going to get locked up for it. You know what I mean? That's just consequences if I got caught.
And you were pretty comfy with that?
Back then, it was just, I'll catch up with the boys. I knew everybody that was coming and going, and, you know, I had no fucking skeletons in my closet. I mean, that's one thing I got to say. As much as I'm open about me, you know, I still live by old school morals. You know, I've never written a statement. I refuse to write a statement. You know, I don't speak out of school in reference to anybody else's business. And to me, that's how I would expect it to stay across the board. You know, like, I don't believe in these people that sort of go and give each other up, you know what I mean, to get a better sentence, or go and fucking tell on your mate because you're jealous, or it happens now so often.
Dude, even like, do you follow like the whole like rap and stuff these days? Like,
mate, I have. I was a big deal. Yeah, I find it funny because, you know, I loved growing up with that sort of. I remember having the fucking little wire on my head with little foam headphones and the cassette tape, you know, and you just sit there going fucking stop, rewind, play. Yeah. And it was like NWA, and, you know, like fucking that was the sort of core of, you know, I'm a fucking sick cunt. You know, I'm out
Gangster.
here. Yeah. You know, he's cruising around, just fucking, yeah.
That's so fucking funny.
And then your battery get flat.
And then you just back by yourself going, fuck.
Because AA batteries were so expensive back then, you know?
That's classic. Well, yeah, it's like, it's funny that whole, like, the whole snitching thing's coming, like, way back into the public.
It's a fucking joke. And look, I'll tell you straight, mate, it is absolutely putrid. Everyone wants to be a gangster.
But no one wants to deal with the fucking consequences.
It's time to fucking be gangster. You know, they all shit the gear.
Because some people just like, it's the people that aren't about that life. Like, there are people that they will not make it in prison. And there are people, I mean, fuck, looking from the outside, it's like if you're a real G, then you'll go to prison and you'll still be a G. But it's like the dudes that are faking it on the outside are the ones that are going to get exposed on the inside.
Oh, look, you can't hide from it. But I won't bullshit either, you know? Like, anybody can be got. You know, the bottom line is every fucker is vulnerable. Doesn't matter who you are. And you can be the hardest and toughest man in the strictest. Like, for example, you know, like there was just two fellows, and I won't go into saying their names because I don't want to sort of get into that side of it. Two blokes in Goldman Supermax just recently that managed to get in the same yard of each other. Two extremely high profile men that, you know, are notorious in the system. One that's been at the top of the game for fucking ever. Boom, was on, mate, hardcore on. You know, and that's the reality of it. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are. If you're going to get got, you're going to get got. So, I mean, you know, you don't want to just shut your mouth, mind your business, stay out of the politics, be humble and sit the fuck down. You know, do your time and come home. Is it
hard for people to stay out of the politics of it? Because there is like,
especially when you've been involved, you know, like with gangs or clubs, or you sort of automatically a part of it, whether you want to be or not.
Yeah.
You know, or if we were there and, you know, I'm hanging with you, you're my fucking buddy, you know, like we're tight, we're training together and shit, you know, we look out for each other. Instantly, you fuck up and it brings me into it, you know, like it becomes a little bit, a bit of a fuck situation.
Yeah. Yeah, well, even, dude, like that, what made me think about it, like I've been in a jiu-jitsu gym for a year, and it's like they're just my fucking boys now.
Yeah.
You know, and we went to a big competition, and one of the guys, he's one of our black belts now, he got put to sleep, but the guy was still ripping a submission on his arm. And the referee couldn't see that he was asleep. So anyway, we're all yelling, and then I was like, get the fuck off him, cunt. I jumped the fence. These guns are fucking brown belts.
And you just come all gangster.
Yeah, and I just start thinking I'm a G.
Fuck shit up.
But like, and I'm like trying to jump the fence, and I'm like, fuck, get off, you cunt. And but it was like just one of those, like, I wasn't in that moment thinking of like, this is my chance, I'm going to make a name for myself.
You just got to back your buddy.
I was just like fucking tripping because that's one of my best friends now, you know. I fucking bleed with that dude every day.
100%.
And like, so, I mean, it's funny, like, even when we were talking to Abbo, you know, it's just like any club or any team or any group, if you're fucking legit and you're tight and you're going through shit together, then it's almost like that feeling is unavoidable, or that instinct that you have to protect those people. Because I had an instant instinct to fucking jump that fence. I wasn't going to try and hurt the other guy, but I wanted to just protect my friend. Like,
I relate to that so much, you know, especially with growing up in club life. You know, growing up on the streets, you sort of your buddies all you got, you know. But then following into wearing a set of colours for so many years, you know, like. We went through some pretty serious wars between clubs. One in particular, you know, where there was members shot, both sides, you know. They're not here anymore. The bottom line was...
And they're like your brothers.
They were your brothers, you know. And like, so at that stage, it was like, well, fuck, retaliation's a must. You know, it's that fine line, you know. Like, look, today, if I was out with my bro and my fucking buddy, you know, something happened, I mean, I would instantly retaliate
instinct,
to defend, you know.
Yeah.
Would I go out hunting and carrying on and wanting to be fucking, you know, all up in someone's face? Fuck no.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't give a fuck. I really couldn't. But, you know, I dead set, push come to shove, I would 100% run the ball up well and truly.
Yeah, and I think that it just does, like I said, just become an instinct. Like, I honestly didn't even remember it happened until so we were videoing the matches, and we went back to our house, and my buddy goes, I want to see the fight, because he was winning by like a lot, and I think he just slipped, made a mistake, and got sort of caught in something. So we were watching. I didn't even remember that I did it.
That's the scary part, but you just have this immediate sort of reaction. It's like a blackout, boom.
Yeah.
But that reaction could also have a massive consequence, which is a lot of what we see today, like the brain snaps of people that are costing them, many, many years incarcerated because of a fucking stupid decision. One thing I've learned over the years is just smile or step the fuck back and just keep walking on. I mean, I guess that for me, that's what I loved about Muay Thai. We talk about fighting. I mean, I've been, training Muay Thai for many, 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 many years.
Where do you train at?
I'm now at Strikeforce under the wonderful Mark Pease.
Yeah,
Mr. Mark Pease, that is.
Yeah, right.
He's a legend. And I was for many, many years under legendary John Wayne Parr. And I have the utmost respect for him and what I was able to learn from him. A lot of people don't ever have that opportunity to be trained under a 10-time world champion.
Oh, yeah. Especially so close to home.
Mate, I go back to their old gym, before the one here in Burleigh, many, many years ago. And, it's just awesome. But there comes a time too where, like, I've got 2 young sons now that also train and a daughter. And, I needed to find what suits all of us.
Yeah.
So we chose to just, thank Wayne and move on to the Strikeforce. And it's been epic. Yeah, love our Strikeforce family. And I mean, you talk about core, you talk about real, you talk about just fucking Muay Thai roots. It's there. It's not a Hollywood style gym. It's not fucking like pretty and look at me. It is real deal. Just got real fighters, real brotherhood. The women, the men. It's good. And it's a good thing for the young kids. And I've unfortunately had to retire. Only 2 weeks ago. I wanted to have a couple of more fights this year.
Yeah, you've had a couple of fights.
I had a few actually, and I really wanted to finish the year in a big note because last year I nearly got killed at work. It was a year actually, I think, to today.
Really? What's the date?
Fuck yeah.
Today?
What is it, 7th?
Yeah, it's the 7th today, bro.
5th, oh, mate. Fuck yeah. It's a year ago. So I was airlifted out of Collinsville.
No shit.
Mate, I was fucked. I was
what happened?
Killed. I was dogging for a frenner. We'd done 22 lifts that day and we were building solar farms, so we had these massive 40-foot containers.
Yeah.
On the 40-foot container, I had 3 big panels, about 250 to 280 kilos each, big steel panels. So within that, there was like a bolt on one end, a bolt here, and then a bolt here and a bolt here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is sling up the panels, start to take the tension and, undo the bolts, it's hold and step away, come around this side, pull the other bolt out, the frenner would take the weight, pull it out, and, you're in a safe zone over this side. So we'd done, as I said, 22 lifts. Months prior to that, they'd been moved around the site and panels had been falling off in transit. So safety had sort of said to the Sparkies, you just need to fucking fix this up. They'd put their hand up and said, yep, been done. So we're talking months, later.
Yeah.
Here I am on site, last lift of the day. And basically, I'd pulled the first panel, pulled the second, moved in front of the third panel. And I was just in like a trench that probably about 1 metre deep because of all the cabling that had to go in underneath these big inverters. They're raised up on, concrete slabs just to get underneath and put the hard wiring in. It basically fucking fell and just crushed me.
Fuck.
Yeah, it came down and I had no idea. So I was completely relaxed, winding up the frenner. And then I just see this fucking face on this driver and he's just like, I'm like, fucking what?
Yeah, chill.
And he's like, I'm like, fuck. In my head, I'm thinking, dude, fucking lift's easy. Like, what are you taught next minute? Whack. And hit me from about halfway down my back. So smashed me and I fell to my knees. And it was just like bang to my knees and then my whole body completely folded. And I remember just like sitting there for what seemed a minute was probably seconds.
Yeah.
Just to feel if I was still functional. Like if I could fucking feel my legs, my arms, or what was going to happen. he come running out of the Franner and basically, you know, trying to lift this big bit of steel, and obviously couldn't lift it on his own, but he got close enough to me where he could just take it up enough. And somehow I was able to just, on my arms, just drag myself out and fucking get out. And he was like, no, I'll lift you up. And I was like, mate, don't touch me. Just let me just leave it for a sec. And I couldn't fucking feel much. And then all of a sudden I felt this hot burn feeling from my hips down and started to get real tight. And I was like, fuck, get me up, man, get me up. So it sort of dragged me over to the front wheel of the Franner. I pulled myself up. And the moment I come up, I just felt this massive swelling, pulsation. This sharp pain around my lower back, my hips, and that was just fucked. And I said, mate, we're in trouble. Get help now, because I knew something. It had to be so. To me, it was like something like to do with the nerve. Yeah, there was something that wasn't. That burning feeling just wasn't normal. Yeah, and neither was the pain. You know, the shootingness of the pain. So anyway, they came, and yeah, it ended up real bad. I couldn't feel anything and had to get airlifted out of there.
And what was the injuries in the end?
Thankfully, I only had soft tissue damage and nerve damage, but I've had 3 back operations in the last 4 months.
Fuck.
Yeah, so obviously there was fucking something wrong. You know, they've done nerve deadings, they've done fucking facet injections with steroids, and even now, like, my hip's fucked. So I basically had to put my hand up. I've gone back to training and I've gone to try and, you know, put it in my head, no, you'll be fine. And after the last back operation about 6 weeks ago, I come out and I thought, fuck, I feel like Superman. I haven't felt this good.
That's good.
I was good. So I started, you know, doing 5, 6, 7K runs, you know, fucking back into it. So, right, I'm going to strip this weight down. I'm getting back over those ropes. Back into training twice a day. I started doing like functional body movement through zoo training, you know, trying to just loosen my body up. And then I was going to do pad work and, you know, like thinking that I was back. And then just went boom and knocked me on my ass, and like it's been now probably 2.5 weeks, and my hips are fucked.
Really?
Yeah.
So what kind of problems are you having with your hips?
Just constant pain. Like,
is it in the back of your hips?
Yeah, it's like it feels compressed from, you know, the top of my thighs into my lower hip area.
I've got
and stuff.
I've got a device upstairs that I'll bring down. It's called a Sorite. And it goes basically like lay on it. So it's got these 2, it sort of looks like that. And it's got like a hole in there. And then you basically lay on it and it stretches, or like it compresses into the psoas muscle.
Oh, wow.
So that's the muscle that connects from your lower spine in the front to your femurs in the front. Like runs sort of like down through your hips. So a lot of times that they say that a lot of people that have lower back pain is actually because their hip flexors are tight and they're like compressing, like pulling on your spine.
That's exactly what you just hit the nail on the head there. Compressing. So I feel like I just want someone to like fucking grab my ankle and just pull it straight out of the socket.
Well, try this thing after the podcast. I'll bring it downstairs. You can lay on the mats out there.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, it's like it's fucking good, dude. Because so like I actually learned about it on the David Goggins podcast with Rogan. Yeah. And there's a guy in Australia, Grappling Supply is on. I'll put it on Instagram. Actually, I've been meaning to. He sent it to me a while ago, and I've been using it regularly, but I haven't like spoken about it or anything. But yeah, so I'll bring that down. But man, I get crazy pains in my hips from like in the front of my hips, and my back gets tight because I'm at the desk all the time. Yep. So like those hip flexors are constantly contracted.
So gnarly.
And yeah, so it actually like pulls down in your spine. But David Goggins, when he did the podcast with Rogan, he was saying that because he runs so much, that it actually got so tight that it started, doing that nerve damage and sort of compressing and constricting everything. It's fucked.
It stops you completely. Like, I have a real issue. Now, I've always been active, you know, like I...
Why do you run, though? Because running's like fucking the worst thing you can do, especially if you've got a bit of weight on you.
It's either that or ride, you know what I mean? And at the moment, I can't sit for too long. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, if I can get in just a nice trot...
Have you done any swimming ever?
Love it. And I have done.
Because like the beach swims in the mornings would just be perfect.
It is. And where I live, you know, I'm blessed to have that 2 minutes from home. So, you know, I do get those options and I can do it. I mean, the biggest thing is for me is just... Oh, mate, it's hard. It's consistency. It's when I'm on. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like if I set a goal, I'll achieve that goal because I won't fucking stop until I do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, since this accident, I've tried to set goals
That you found your
but
body
I physically
just,
cannot achieve it. You know, mentally I'm all over it.
And
it's getting frustrating.
You've kicked enough goals physically to know that, like, you will see something through. Like, obviously the east to west cycles, you know, you're the first guy to do it. So it's like there's obviously not a problem with you committing to something and actually having a fucking crack at it.
No, not at all. And funny enough, you say that. I did a half Ironman in 2017 and then backed up a 10-day... Well, I did it in 8 days around Tassie as well.
Yeah, right.
It's just... I love that feeling of challenging myself. I love that feeling of somebody saying, you can't do that. You ain't able to do that. Man, I'm 130 kilos and I did just under 4,500 meters of elevation in the first 3 days of leaving the coast.
Yeah.
You know, that was just back-to-back climbing to get out west. Like, fuck me dead, mate. This body... Yeah, but in saying that too, I trained very hard for that. You know, I put my body through hell. Rain, hail or shine, I was out there and I was doing what had to be done to achieve it. There was no not going to or failing to do it. I mean, I fractured my elbow.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
2. Yeah, it was... in 2016, we had a massive East Coast low that came across. I left on the 1st of June and it was coming, the fucking storm, and I was riding straight out west, out through Kyogle, heading out towards Dubbo.
Yeah.
And it was just gnarly. You know, before I even got to Moree, it was just fucked. You know, like I was...
Just rain.
It was heavy. And I remember the second day, I was going up into the tablelands, you know, to cross over on the Queensland, New South Wales, what they call it, the Granite Belt.
Yep.
And a lot of trucks use it. It's old, shitty roads. There's fucking potholes everywhere. And it's really loose gravel roads.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like trying my best just to stay upright, let alone, you know, away from these potholes. And I think I just sort of got so engulfed in the weather and just trying to stay focused. I wasn't looking at the road. Anyway, I hit this fucking pothole. Front flip, somersault. The funny part about it was I've actually got it on camera. As I was in the air, and it wasn't until months later, I've hit it, flipped it, because I had a Garmin camera on the front. You know, I was cameraed up, and it was all GPS, so everybody could track it. And as I've hit the air, you just hear this...
Oh, you're kidding.
my body had folded over and squeezed me. I farted and followed through.
Oh, fuck.
I was fucking heavy. And, you know, thankfully it was raining and I was already wet and that was fucking heavy. But anyway, I sort of didn't worry. I had about 30 Ks to go on that day and I wasn't too worried about what was fucking going on between my cheeks.
Hey, you know what? You're not the first person on this podcast that shit themselves during a ride, all right? So don't fucking feel awkward about it. That makes me
feel so fucking good.
Toby Price shit himself in the Dakar.
Oh, mate, the Dakar. He would just be shitting and pissing himself non-stop. Like, what, you don't stop. So.
He loves it.
It's look, it happened and what come of that was really tough times. I didn't realise it, but I'd fractured my elbow. It was fucking, you know, out like a balloon. My knee was ripped apart. Mind you, I had thick clothing. It was winter. It was cold. I was doubled up, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like it was just my skin to the road. So I'd given it a good tear. We'd sort of scrubbed it off. Justin, the young man that followed me across Australia with a vehicle in a caravan, absolute legend, Justin Jansen. And he was like, fuck, bro, I've got to get to a chemist. You know, we're just arriving. And I said, just do it. You know, we pulled up. Next minute he's scrubbing me and we're trying to get all the gravel out and that, because we knew straight away that would cause infection, you know. So we thought,
how run down your body was going to be.
Oh, mate, and it was already happening because, you know, like you literally train for so long, you're so fit. And all of a sudden, bang, you know, you're just into this headwind and just rain and just, it was fucking gnarly.
And plus, like, the mental obstacle of the fact that, like, okay, this is me now for 45 days.
Well, this was the thing. You know, what do? You just, you 250 Ks from home, 300 Ks from home, and you say, fuck, I'm out. Or do you just shut the fuck up and keep going? So I chose to shut the fuck up. I mean, we had to make it known while we stopped because it was, like I say, it was all GPS. So we had to obviously document everything. And I just basically said, look, I've come off the bike. There was pictures of it and it wasn't pretty, but I didn't say that I was, you know, in too bad a pain or anything like that. So we got some anti-inflammatories, we cleaned it up and off we went. We got to Ceduna.
Yeah. And
it was the second state of origin in 2016. And we're going to go down to the pub and have a pub dinner that night. You know, it's just something different, you know, before we hit the Nullarbor. Just watch the footy. Anyway, I sort of said to Justin, look, I had something to eat and it was about 5:36 and I said, look, mate, go. I'm fucked, you know. So I sort of went and put myself to bed. And I think he went and just, you know, had a relax and socialise with some locals, whatever. Came back and I heard him come in at about 11:30 and I tossed and sort of went, fuck, you know, I went back to sleep. 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up screaming in the fucking worst pain I've ever felt.
Really?
Yeah, so my elbow was literally like my fucking kneecap. You know, it was blowing up by the minute. I had this massive red line going up under my arms and it was septicemia.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that fucking was. Next thing you know, we're like straight into Ceduna Hospital, bang. You know, like I had 2 trainee nurses sitting there laughing, trying to find a fucking vein. Obviously with the tattoos, they couldn't find a vein. They weren't educated enough to feel the vein, you know. So then they've punctured me all over the place. Oh, well, we can't seem to get... I'm going to have to give a break. And I'm like, fuck, get the fucking thing into me. I need to be on a drip.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to wait for that. And I was losing my shit. Anyway, a doctor came through and he was like, mate, this guy's in a bad state. My temperatures were hitting 39.5 and just on the verge of 40. It wasn't good. My body was so hot. So he come in anyway. He got me in. For the next 3 days, every 4 hours was just getting fucking pumped with just needles and drips and injections, and it wasn't good, you know. Like I went through some really, really dark sort of moments. It was horrible. Then they couldn't operate on me, so they had to send me to Royal Adelaide. So I flew to Royal Adelaide, got operated on. Within 7 days, I signed myself out against the doctor's wishes, flew back to Ceduna with 36 stitches on my elbow and holipandone and anti-inflammatories, and I did 2,000 Ks in under 10 days. And yeah, successfully finished the ride across Australia.
Fuck. What was the feeling like? I mean, I know you filmed it when you rode through, when you come into Perth, but like, you looked like super emotional.
I was. You know, it was a massive build-up. You know, I've got my good mate's wife passed with cancer, a young mother, a beautiful human. That happened while I was on the Nullarbor, so you know, I was taking that on board and feeling that sort of emotion, and my own children were worried, you know. Their dad was in the middle of nowhere, you know, like literally on a hospital bed, not knowing what's going to happen, and it was a lot involved and a lot invested in me too. You know, my own personal journey, like I was saying, you know, the doubters and the haters and all that shit that I had to deal with and prove to myself. I guess in the back of my mind, I wanted to say fuck you to everyone else too, because I knew what I was doing and I was going to achieve this, you know, and to all those people that sort of doubted or thought, oh, fuck, you know, he won't do it, he's full of shit. It was that moment of just going, wow, it's done. I've achieved what I worked so hard for 2 years to achieve. And to be honest with you, I pretty much did it all off my own fucking bat. You know, there was definitely a couple of people that came into the lead up to it, but there was only, you know, a very few that really truly believed in me, that backed me, you know, helped me financially with a vehicle, just support that you really need to achieve something like this, you know. So my biggest thing was getting to Cottesloe Beach. It was freezing fucking cold, and just diving in the ocean. You know, going from the east coast to the west coast, to me it was ocean to ocean, and it was just, yeah, pretty special. Was it your first sort of like major achievement since you'd come out of prison? 100%. Probably my most only major achievement in life. I was a great rugby league player. I played junior football with Manly in Western Suburbs. I had opportunities to continue that, but you know, I didn't have anywhere to live. I had no stability. I was in and out of boys' homes, jail. I had nothing there to offer other than my skills, and back then it was just shunned upon. There was no support programs to help that bloke, you know, that could be great at something like that. Yeah. So outside of that, it was a massive achievement. Massive.
And I mean, that's got to be like a way to just be like, okay, my life is now different. You know, like I've just left prison. I've just completed something that's taken 2 years to do that no one else has ever done. And was that almost like the point where you left Perth and back to the Gold Coast, and it was like, okay, I'm a different guy now. Like, and was that your way of almost proving to people that you were going to be this different person?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing out of it was self-belief. Like, I always believed that I could do it, but I cemented it. Yeah. I cemented it within my own mind that you can achieve anything through adversity if you put your mind to it. You know, some of the greatest champions of the world through sport have had to hit rock bottom before they've hit the pinnacle at the top. I felt like one of those. You know, like, all right, I'm not a world champion, but I am a world champion. You know,
that's a world first.
I did a world first, and that's mine. I own that. You know, and I fucking worked hard for it. Yes, it is something that, you know, forever my children will be able to look at. You know, and for me it was massive because my history was only ever, you know, dad the gangster, dad the bikie, dad the fucking this and that, you know, been to jail. There wasn't a lot there to be proud of. You know, I've got a 20-year-old son that literally I haven't seen for 2.5 years, you know, because of my choices earlier in life. I wasn't a bad dad, but I wasn't a present dad, if that makes sense, you know. And that,
and again, like not a dad to be proud of.
No, fuck no. You know, like, I'll put my hand up, it breaks my heart to say it, but I wasn't, you know. But I made that choice to change that with my other 3 children. And having completed this was huge, you know, and the kids get excited. Now, like, my youngest is 5 and he goes, Dad, when I grow up, you know, we're going to do a ride across Australia together. I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted to hear, you know. That's all the dreams and visions I had of later in life from what I was about to accomplish, you know. And the fact, too, that I wanted to inspire so many other people that were struggling, you know, through dark days and feeling that they're worthless. You know, I don't have a trade. I don't have anything to fall back on like that. Neither do fucking thousands of others. Yeah. I'm not the only one that's had a tough life. You know what I mean? There's so many people out there. But I've been able to find that strength to have a voice and not give a fuck. Not give a fuck in a way that I don't care what that person thinks of me anymore. Yeah. You know? And I think there's a lot of people that unfortunately really do feel that they'll be judged. Yeah. You know? And reality is, mate, you make life what you want it to be. Yeah. And that's what I want it to be and what I continue to want it to be today. You know, I've still got fucking aspirations to do something else crazy. Yeah. But something great, you know. Yeah. You know, I chose, as I said, I did a half Ironman and I came 3rd in my category, but I think there was only 5 of us. That's all right. So top 3. Do you think that you can mend bridges with your son, your 20-year-old? Oh, look, I'd love to. You know, it breaks my heart. He's got, you know, 2 younger brothers and a sister that just want to know their big brother. I mean, I know enough to know that he's not like I was. Yeah. You know, and if there's one thing in life I can say is my wrongs have been my children's rights. Yeah. He's highly intellectual and, you know, from what I can find out and what I do know, he's doing very, very well for himself. And I can't ask for any more than that, you know. Yeah. He's a man. He's not a little boy anymore. He has his own choices. And the hardest thing for me, I guess, was I didn't speak to my father for, maybe 12, 13 years, you know. Sort of a little bit like a mirror image. Yeah. You know? But I know how stubborn I was. Yeah. I know how much hurt I had, you know, and I sort of think, I just hope that he doesn't take that long to say, hey, let's chat. Yeah. You know, but I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah, I was going to say, like, literally all you can do is just keep doing the, you know, being positive and absolutely. You know, like I, you know, for all the fathers out there that are struggling, that have got children out there that they absolutely love and adore, you know, but just aren't a part of their life for whatever reason that's outside of their own choice. Just keep doing you, because, you know, like, especially if you've got other children, you know, into another relationship. I've been with my wife for 16 years now, and she's sensational. Puts up with my shit, you know, like, fuck, who would do that, you know? But she's blessed me with 3 beautiful children. She's been my rock, and I've got to say, you know, a massive part of my betterness in my life is having her by my side. You know, there's no punches pulled, and you know, she calls it for the way it is, but at the same time too, she's shown me love, taught me that, you know, you can trust people, you can love people, and that's been a pretty special thing, you know, because you sort of become so fucking thick-skinned, you know, that you don't have that emotion within you to give a fuck, you know, like to actually be open-hearted, to be compassionate.
I can imagine that growing up in the environment that you did, compassion and kindness was a trait that wouldn't really get you very far, right?
No, it was a weakness.
It would actually fuck you up.
100% weakness. And, you know, for anybody to see that, you're fucked, mate. You're a target. And that's something, like, don't get me wrong, you know, I got jumped a few times, like John Hopewadi. I don't forget.
Really?
Oh,
you got jumped by John Hopewadi?
Yeah, him and his Islander mates for a pair of Nikes when I was about 12 years of age at the train station.
Oh, so you rocked around with those boys?
Fuck rocking around with them.
Or like you were in that was the mix that you were in?
Yeah, well, the western suburbs of Sydney was, you know, back in those days was...
So he was a bit of a cunt back in the day?
He was a prick. You know, he's fucking... Yeah, fuck. I don't forget, like I said. But yeah, no, you know, like that was the reality of it growing up back then. You know, you're just a young sort of white fella within a strong Indigenous and Islander community that if you weren't with them or a part of them, mate, you were just a fucking vulnerable victim. And you know, reality was, who did I have to fall back on? I had to sort of learn to stand on my own 2 feet. I guess that's where it really started to kick in.
So how did your parents end up in that situation?
Yeah, look, my father was a very, very hardworking man. You know, he had a problem with alcohol, as did his mother. And since, you know, going many, many years later and learning about who my father was, our paths weren't very, very different. You know, he went through some terrible times. He was also sexually abused, you know, by the scoutmaster back in the day. And my grandfather was a merchant seaman, so, you know, he wasn't around a lot. And his mum was, you know, what they would call a bar wench back in the day. So he didn't really have the best of starts, and it was built, you know, around sort of hardship, you know, like fucking real sort of don't cry, don't complain.
Yeah.
You just cop it and kick along with it. My father's an identical twin. Both great footballers. Both had history with Manly Warringah, and, you know, like there was some really good stuff, but, you know, obviously my father's demons got the better of him with the heavy consumption of alcohol. And back then it was like a flagon of fucking port.
Yeah.
You know, and he's pulling down fence palings at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning and burning a bonfire between the neighbourhood fences because that was just what they did. You know, this neighbour's a fucking Aboriginal mission sort of thing where they just all got together and charged up, and yeah, that was it. So, you know, the old fella became a real prick. And it was very violent. So, you know, that reflected on my mother, who, you know, copped a lot of abuse. But then, you know, I would sort of try and defend my mother back in the day.
Were you always like a big kid?
Bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a front rower in rugby league since the age of 6.
Yeah.
And I'd never played any other position. And then, you know, back then, predominantly the bigger guys sort of played up the front row. It was a forward position. So, yeah, definitely a bigger guy. But, you know, I was, I don't know, timid, I suppose, in some ways too, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was carrying so much hurt and stuff inside, and it was just one of them things that, you know, as much as I had a presence, you know, I wanted to sort of be strong. I wasn't strong.
Yeah.
And my mother ended up leaving my father after, you know, many years of the abuse and what have you, and she left me, took my younger brother and sister and just bailed. I didn't speak to her for 20 years. And the rest is sort of what made me who I am today.
And so, how old were you when you left that environment with your dad and went to live with your mum?
Oh, mate, I never lived with my mum. I was living with my dad. My mother had left me.
Oh, so your mum left you with your dad?
Yeah, she basically had just dumped me on him, and he didn't want me there at that stage, you know, like it was going to sort of fuck up his way of thinking.
It's just a hassle,
yeah, absolutely. So he was in another relationship, and you know, once again, that was very volatile. I didn't get on with that particular person for, you know, many years, and, you know, I'd come home from school, and if I hadn't sort of done the chores that she had 3 children, but those children were never expected to do anything. It was just me. I was like fucking the bitch, you know, like why didn't you do this?
Cinderella.
Fucking hard out. Like to the point where we'd sit down and eat a meal and I'd be given slops and leftovers from 2-3 days ago and they'd be all sitting there, you know. They used to nickname me Otto because back in the day, the old green plastic bins that come out were called Otto bins in Sydney.
Yeah.
And fucking I was fed the rubbish, you know. So it wasn't good, you know, and I really, really, really felt it and rebelled, you know. And so every time I'd sort of flare up, she'd make up some story that the old man I'd abused her and this, he'd come in and just flog the fuck out of me. So I got to the point where school had seen so many bruises on me that pulled me out, put me into foster care.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that was the beginning of fucking it all, you know.
And do you think that foster care was a better environment than being at home?
No.
So the system was not set up?
Not back then. No. Family and community services was very different, I think, to what it is today. You know, so much has come out in commissions and stuff today to do with, you know, young children and how they're treated and families, how they care for foster children. So much in respect to abuse. I mean, don't get me wrong, please. There's a lot of beautiful humans out there that have given their heart and soul to helping, you know, raise people that don't have healthy environment. But, you know, in
your case, you got unlucky with that.
Yeah, I just, you know, it just never felt right. Like I ended up just going to the streets. You know, it was one of them things that you didn't feel accepted. It wasn't my home.
Yeah.
They weren't my family. You know, I just couldn't get that whole, let's play happy family thing going. It was just fucking wrong. It was just in my head. It was just, that's not where I'm meant to be.
And did you love your dad even though he was a cunt to you?
Oh, I guess I've always loved my dad. You know, like I love my dad now. Like we're fucking men. We've sat down. My dad's, you know, going through some tough times, and
that's cool. Then.
Yeah, we've been able to put it all on the table and
again have that conversation.
Fucking earth, mate. You know, like, and it's been 20 something years since he's had a drink, and you know, like he's a changed man. Who would I be asking for people to accept me as a changed man if I wasn't willing to forgive and, you know, move on from my own sort of stuff? So. I don't like to contradict those sort of things. You know, you got to live it. You know, for if you're going to sort of talk about it and try and help others. So, I found peace. He found peace, and fuck yeah, man. We're cool. We're cool. You know, it's hard, I guess, from my mother's point of view, having not had that connection for so many years. Finding, you know, my wife brings my mum and the children together, and. You know, my mum's a good person, and you know, like I love my mum, but there's so many years there that I can't.
There's nothing there, yeah.
Yeah, I just can't fucking get that connection, if that makes sense.
Abandonment would be quite a hard thing because, I guess with your dad, it's like you got taken away from him, whereas your mum left in a way.
Look, my mum went through some fucked up shit, you know, and there's a lot of women out there that go through it, and I really have, you know. A very low tolerance for any of that sort of abuse, but she did, I think, what she had to do that was right for her children. You know, my father wasn't loyal to her. My father was, you know, abusive, and I think she just took the only option she could see back then was to take the two young ones. And you know, I mean, she did make it very clear that, you know, I was too much like my father. Reminded me of my father, which that scarred me for 43 years.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Or 40 odd years. So. You know, she's a good woman. She's out there. She's doing her best, and you know, she's great to my children, and you know, my wife and her have a great relationship, and yeah, that's cool.
That's just hard for you.
Yeah, it is.
So when then you went into the foster care, and then did you get bounced around to a bunch of different homes and different places?
At first, I mean, one of my sort of fondest memories was...
And how old were you, sorry, when this was
So happening? I was 10 turning 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're like your most formative years as a young... as you're coming into puberty and...
Fucking oath. Like, you know, I don't know how many times I just wandered the streets at night, you know, between the ages of 10 and 12. Fucking freezing cold, mate. I slept in a football oval for like 2 months in a sleeping bag, and there was a cricket pitch in this oval, and it was pitch black. It was a big backing onto like a big bush area. It was fucking scary, mate, you know, and I thought if I could just sleep in the sleeping bag, no one would dare walk through the middle of this oval because there's no lights, there's no nothing, you know. And I thought, I'm safe. And that's what I come to, like those moments of just putting yourself, what you thought was in one of the gnarliest sort of spots, but a safe spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because in hindsight, who wants to walk through the fucking middle of a pitch black oval? We'll walk around it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially when it backs on the bushland.
Makes a lot of sense.
You know, so
that's called street smart right there.
That's what it became. Life just purely became based around that.
Yeah.
You know, growing up and sort of street education and. Yeah.
And so you don't have a family as such, and is that when the streets became like a family? Like, how does it first go to where you transition to be like a kid that's alone in a sleeping bag by himself in the streets to then have a family in the streets?
Well, I mean, I sort of, you know, thought, it'd be cool to sort of hang with this. So I guess you just followed around like a fucking sheep, you know. You're trying to impress the crew that are there, you know. Everybody's out doing something that's not right, you know, whether it be stealing or fucking selling drugs or whatever it was. They were doing it to, I guess, to live at that stage. So, you know, you want to be accepted, you get involved in it, you know. You all of a sudden, you're getting sort of, he's a fucking dickhead, look at this bloke, you know, who's he, where's he come from? That sort of attitude, you know. So it wasn't as easy as just trying to be a part of something that, you know,
you got to earn your way in.
Fucking earn it, mate. Christ, yeah, it's hard, you know. And I know many a times I was treated like a fucking idiot, you know, used for certain things, and I was stood over a few times, you know, like literally, you know, I'd do something and, you know, have a little bit of a cash roll in my pocket. Next minute, fucking they'd jump me and take my money. I'll be back to square one. So there was no loyalty in that respect, you know. But then come from that, you know, was these little crews that started to split. You know, which was where the crime went to, you know, jumping bank counters and, you know, ram raiding. And we had a tight-knit crew because, you know, you fucking rely on each other. One gets caught, you're not going to talk about it, you know what I mean? And we were solid. And
how did you guys first meet? And, like...
Same sort of way, eh? Like, just bump each other, similar situations. Just you're out and about. You click with some, you don't with others, you know? Next minute you haven't fucking... You're on the piss with them, partying, and next minute, we'll catch up tomorrow or whatever. Then all of a sudden, it's like anything, you know, you start hanging out a bit more and realise you've got a lot more in common than you think.
And I guess you're longing for a family at this 100%, point too.
100%. You're just willing to be accepted, you know. To have a buddy, a mate, just to, that's me, bro. You know what I mean? Like, we're side by side, rock solid.
Do you think that, looking back on it now, like when you say like your wife's taught you about what real love is and you got your kids and there's unconditional love there, do you think that those connections with those guys were genuine back then?
I can tell you now, out of about 12 of us, there's 4 dead, and there's probably, there's 3 of us that still at this age in life talk to each other. One, he's done about 24 years jail, and the other bloke's a success.
Yeah, right.
Absolute legend, and you know, he's doing great things too, and so it's kind of nice because
so there is like a real friendship that was formed.
There is,
back
yeah.
then,
I mean, like, definitely not in the mass of everybody, but those of us that are left, there's a couple of us that are real still tight.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you get into that group at what sort of age was that, you reckon?
Yeah, so you're starting to sort of look at that 13, 14, you know, 15, and
were you going to school much?
Nah, fuck school, mate.
Didn't go any of it?
I was highly embarrassed, you know, like I become that kid that was turning up to school in the shitty old shoes, you know. Like, back then it was the old Dunlop volleys, which are really cool now. They're so expensive. But, you know, back then it was just... Dude. I was.
Yeah.
You know, when the Adidas 3-stripe tracksuits come out, you know, like the school tracksuit had this green tracksuit with this yellow stripe, and everyone was coming in these like 3-stripe pants, and they're fucking cool. And I was just getting by in this little fucking second-hand Kmart little fucking 2-stripe shit. And
old school slazzing just shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, bullying's shocking today. But back then it was, I guess, a bit different. It was just like, fuck, mate, you know, you were that kid, so...
Just get cast out.
100%. Every time we'd go out, you know, you'd have to walk through the bus bay. There'd be a circle of fucking, you know, cool cunts, and you have to walk through that circle. You know, next minute you're getting pushed and shoved, and someone gets nudged. Ooh, fucking, what's your problem? Next minute, mate, they're all, you know, hands up. You've already got massive students around you, and you're fighting again, you know what I mean? Like, somebody wants to have a bully session and pick on you.
And were you a violent kid back then?
As I said, there was that timid side of me.
Yeah.
Definitely, if I got pushed to a point, I clicked.
Yeah.
To the point where, you know, it was either me or you.
Yeah.
But no, it took a little bit to push those buttons. I probably was so used to getting hit, you know what I mean, and just basically beaten that it didn't matter. I did my best and, you know, fucking walked on. Yeah. But it was a lonely walk.
Yeah.
You know?
One of my best mates growing up, he had a pretty sort of rough go with his old man and that, and we used to get in fights at school fucking all the time, and he just wasn't scared because he'd get fucking clipped every day by like a grown ass man, and he just was like, what the fuck's a 12-year-old going to do to me?
And that's where your mindset comes. Like, you may not be the greatest at sort of, you know, putting your hands up or whatever, but you
just didn't give a fuck.
Fucking take it.
Yeah, you're on a different level.
You become numb to it. You know, you just expect it. You just expect, oh, I'm going to get fucking jumped. And that's where it sort of got to, and I'll never forget, you know, I had gotten a brand new pair of Nike Air Hirachis when they first come out, and I was walking through like a park, a main street in Campbelltown, western suburbs of Sydney, and I was on my own, and I had to walk through this circle, and once again they sort of blocked me off, and they were like, fuck, give us your shoes, and I did my best, and they took one shoe, didn't get the other one, so I was fucking without a pair of shoes. So anyways, I sort of managed to go and get another pair the next day, and I picked up one of those old glass Coke bottles, and I had it in my head that if they were going to do this again today, then this was going to be the day that it was going to stop. And yeah, I ended up fucking walking through, smashing the glass Coke bottle, and just nicked two of them. I got one of them just short of the jugular, and the other one scarred him right across his face. So I ended up in boys' home for that, for malicious wounding, and you know, it was a real shit thing because...
Was that your first time to jail?
For their serious offence, yeah. Yeah, I'd had other charges leading up to that, but that was, you know, a serious enough offence on top of the other charges.
Yeah.
That was sort of minor offences that warranted my first real sort of boys' home sentence, and that was, you know, a good 6 months straight off the bat there.
And what, so when you sort of first got with that crew, what sort of crime stuff were you doing? Was it just a lot, like mostly robbery stuff at the start?
No, see, I've never been one, you know, I know it sounds contradictory when I said I don't like doing that, but I've never been a thief that went and stole from someone's home or personally.
Yeah.
It's not my go. You know, I was a part of a crew that were young but willing, and we'd go do sort of fucking, like, I won't say too much because it's been a long time ago and there's been someone watching over me on that one. But, you know, like, for example, when laptops came out, you know, we did a job that fucking was worth, you know, a couple $100,000. Big jobs. You know, we had big goals. Yeah. And we loved cash. You know, well, everyone at that stage was on, you know, the drug scene, falling into the heroin back then like it was an epidemic as is ice today.
Yeah.
That wasn't us sort of, you know, 8-10 blokes. We didn't mind a drink, but it wasn't our go, you know. Our biggest thing was the rush of, you know, getting the stacks, the big money. So our sort of crime was, you know, up there.
And when did you go out? Like, how old was that?
Oh, God. Started getting good at what we were doing about 15.
Yeah, right. So that's such a crazy age to be like doing that kind of...
It was, and, you know, we had fences back then that, you know, literally you could turn up to somewhere with a bootload full of fucking laptops, as I say, or even the digital handy cams when they first come out, you know, like we'd have a fucking room full of them, like... And a bloke could just take it. Cigarettes were another massive thing, you know, like tobacconists before the days of what they are now, you know, like we'd just clean out a tobacconist and you just have what we used to call scumbags, you know, the big lolly bags, the $2 shop, and you go and you get those.
Yeah.
We used to call them scumbags because everybody that was fucking a bum was walking around with them, and that was just what it was. And we used to fill them with cartons, and the money we used to get was phenomenal.
Really?
Mate, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And then that led us to wanting to go into state because we'd be on the run, obviously, from our own state for the crimes we did, you know, for whatever reason, fingerprints or whatever we slipped up. Sure as hell would there be something out there that we were wanted for. So we'd just get on a plane, and back then you only needed a signature from a carer or an adult to get your plane ticket to, you know, fuck off into state, and bang, off we were into another state doing the same thing. So then it grew from there to, ram raids, and then what we called bankies, which, yeah, we were known as the original banky boys. We'd pull up in a nice prestige vehicle out the front of a bank. The driver would sit there, and whoever was in the car would jump out, and we'd just run straight in the bank over the counter before they put the shutters up.
Yeah.
And clean out the drawers with no weapons or nothing. Straight back over in the hottie and gone.
No shit.
Oh, no, it was fucking good.
That's so crazy,
good. But, you know, saying that, I say that to, you know, don't think out there, guys, that it's fucking cool to do, because it's not. But, you know, back then it was a rush.
In the day, yeah.
We had nothing. You know, here we are, these kids that come from fucking nothing, broken homes, you know, like literally the street. To all of a sudden we're cashed, you know, wearing Sergio Tacchini tracksuits, Lacoste, you know. You hear these young guys today walking around in their Gant and Nautica and these Esches or fucking lads or whatever you want to call them. These guys that, you know, this cursor era or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
We set that platform.
That's crazy.
You know, like, I can show fucking pictures where we're wearing, you know, like $1,000 Sergio Tacchini tracksuits with the latest fucking, you know, Nikes, Nike Air Maxes and all this sort of shit.
Yeah.
We made that. You know what I mean? And it's sort of funny when I look at it now and I watch all these young guys coming up and got their cool little side bags and their fucking, you know, Lacoste caps and oh yeah, I've seen you all before.
That was out, yeah.
It is, and it's. I mean, okay, it's a different generation, and it's all about image conscious, I think, you know, and everybody trying to make a name for themselves. But yeah, we opened that door.
What sort of lifestyle? Like, so then did you have the cash to get like good apartments, and you had?
We lived in hotels. We're always
so
on the go.
Like
No. We're never stable. We was never home. You know, like literally we'd be in hotels 2-3 days, moving on to another one. And it was just how we lived.
Yeah, okay.
You know, out shopping every day after we earned, fucking cashed up. Like, we looked like millionaire kids. Like, we'd just come from the North Shore of Sydney and fucking mummy and daddy are cashed. Like, I remember the Country Road Japara jackets. We walked in when they first come out, like $700-800 a jacket in winter, and they were the best, warmest fucking hoodie. They were sick. Like, they were cool. And if you had this, it was like, fuck, check that out. We all had it. It was like our crew, you know. We'd walk down the street of, you know, the city down to Orbit 600 in the middle of fucking Hoyts and the main street of Sydney City. And it was like Hoyts was the time zone back then.
Yeah, you know? Yeah.
And you'd walk in there and, you know, all brand new fucking shoes and, you know, sick jackets. And it was just like, I guess, that feeling of, yeah, fuck, we're the shit.
Yeah.
You know? But really, we weren't. We were just street kids that had a bit of go in us, you know. And then from there, it sort of led into, you know, starting to sell drugs because, like I said, it was an epidemic with the heroin and...
Yeah, I was going to say, when did it go from just making that kind of like...
ecstasy was starting to kick off in the country, and we were right in the rave scene back then. So, you know,
that would have been
the
sick.
original underground rave scene. You know, like, you used to get $50 a pill back then for these tiny little fucking, you know, Calais splits, baby Calais, and...
What do they run nowadays?
I fucking wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah,
I wouldn't touch it. And anyone out there, mate, I dead set telling you now, do not believe that it's fucking ecstasy.
No, none of that shit is.
Doesn't exist around here anymore.
Yeah, it's fucking hard to get proper shit.
And that's why I think we're having a lot of issues with a lot of people dying and stuff.
That's why I wish the government had just fucking let there be pill testing.
I think it's necessary purely for the fact that people are going to always take it. It's just fucking safe.
Yeah, people are going to take it. You're not going to stop it. Like, but just like let people... And as fucked up as it... Well, the real thing would be just legalise or decriminalise drugs.
I think...
So that you can buy ecstasy or MDMA over the counter and then you know what you're going to take. And, you know, like, you buy a fucking 2 pills and you give one to me, one to my girlfriend. Yeah. It's like she fucking weighs way less than me. She's got way less of a tolerance, you know. So it's like, if you could go and, you know, to a place where it's like safe and you're like, here's a half-gram tablet for her, here's a 2-milligram tablet for you, or whatever.
I think Amsterdam's like that, isn't it, predominantly? Like, majority of it, you can... Like that. And look, I think, you know...
It's the same with like weed in California. Everything's labelled. It's fucking...
I mean,
look,
your weed's another level. I've never been a smoker, but I live on CBD. You know, I live on CBD oil, pure CBD oil, and it's been the best thing I've ever found to help me. So, you know, from that point of view, I think that it must change. You know, if we're going to save lives, look, people are going to keep doing what they're going to do. We're going to keep losing lives. We've got to find a better way.
And it sucks to say, but like, if you bring in pill testing and then you start, and like, let's say you throw decriminalisation out and it stays illegal, whatever, but you just let pill testing happen, the fucking dealers are going to go back to suppliers and be like, oi, they're fucking testing pills. Stop cutting this shit with speed. Stop putting, like it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
Like if the demand changes, then the supply has to fucking change. So it's like at least
like anything in it. If you're going to go get a fucking bag of Coke, you're not going to go back to the bloke that just cuts the shit out of it. You're going to stick with the fucking dude that gives you the fucking best high.
Exactly. And I mean, it sounds like it's fucking, not sort of the way to do it, but it's like if the government doesn't want to go down the road of decriminalisation and they want to do one thing to make it safer, fucking let people do pill testing. Yeah, you're going to have better quality pills for people that are still going to take drugs.
I had a conversation, talking about this on a positive way about our young people the other day, and the one thing I did say was, I don't really, other than maybe one, but people didn't die at raves from taking a pill.
No, not back then, eh?
You didn't hear about it. Like, fucking, okay, there was overdoses. Yeah, it wasn't much, and I'm not trying to justify the good and the bad. I don't want to get into the politics of it all. But the reality of it is...
More people are dying now.
Yes, definitely. And it's fucking terrible because of the chemicals that are being used, in the backyard operators. It's really bad. Back in the day, we, like I say, we were doing what we were doing, but... it was in the era where eckies were eckies.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what they fucking call them today, but they're not eckies.
No.
So being cash back then, we'd go and buy bulk of them at a time. Like I say, you're getting $50 a pill. We'd stay up on Oxford Street. It was a massive gay community back then. From Thursday to Saturday night, that's where we started our business. We'd have certain parts of the street where some of the most predominant nightclubs were. And everyone sort of got to know us, and you could buy the best fucking ecstasy of us back then,
Yeah.
In saying that, it grew from that to bigger and better things, and so much more money.
So that first time you went to jail for glassing that dude, what was that experience like?
Well, it was boys' home, so it wasn't sort of
not prison.
Nah, it was youth detention, youth boys' home, youth jail.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, you knew everyone sort of thing. From suburb to suburb, you knew someone. So, I don't know how it is today, but I do know it's very different in the way of how people connect, Like, you had mates back then that you knew. So, when you went in there, it was almost like a bit of a relief because you had a bed.
Yeah.
You had a meal or 3 meals a day. You had activities. You could train. You could play sports. And then, like, it actually gave you...
a bit of normality.
Absolutely, normality. And... some of the youth workers actually gave a fuck. Like I can recall, a couple of youth workers over the years that had a lot of compassion and were in that position because they cared.
Yeah.
But there was a lot out there that, were just there to play fucking God with a set of keys as well.
Yeah.
So it was almost comforting when you got locked up, because you just got to have a break from the fucking hectic sort of way that the streets were.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it. It makes total sense. And then, is there a thing that happens to you when you go in there and it's not that negative of an experience, and then you go out onto the streets again, and then is it almost like jail becomes like a bit of a fallback for you?
Yeah, it just becomes part of what you're doing. You just expect to fucking...
So you just know you're going to be... It's not if, but when sort of thing.
Well, reality is you're going to get caught. Like, all right, like, there's a lot of things, obviously, that all of us have done in our lives that we haven't been caught for, but, there's a lot of things that you do get caught for. Whether you take that chance is up to you. These days, you'd be silly to with the way that fucking the world is and the technology. Fuck it, it's not worth it. Back then, there was none of that sort of shit, you know what I mean? Like, you could literally do whatever and it'd be so hard to prove that you were there or you did that, or you were a part of that crime. So, it was just part and parcel. You expected at some stage that your prints might come up or, someone might tell on you. But you didn't have to worry so much about fucking 5,000 phones and cameras being around you in every 2 steps you took.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And then so you go from the selling ecstasy, like how big did that operation sort of ramp up?
Huge. The rave scene, the underground rave scene was massive. It just went from... We used to turn up at Oxford Street and there was the old public telephones. So we're talking about the era when mobile phones were like bricks.
Yeah.
Very few. And we had pages back then.
Yeah.
So in the 90s.
Yeah.
So we had pages and, that's how we contacted each other, go to a public telephone, you'd ring up the page and then it'd sort of give you a message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you'd know by the message that come on your little Motorola pager what was going on. But the rave scene was, like a 0055 number. So you'd turn up and within a certain window of, say, 6 till 8 p.m., this line would be open and you'd ring it. And there'd be hundreds of people on this street lined up at these phone boxes.
No
Taxis
way.
just fucking lined up for everywhere. And all of a sudden you'd see like just nobody, and then just boom, taxis are going here, there, and it'd be like, just fucking follow that taxi, follow that taxi. All of a sudden you'd see just lines and lines of traffic of taxis just trailing each other out Alexandria or Redfern or, wherever these raves were being held in these massive factories. And, people would come generally and buy their fucking snack pack. Their pills and trips and whatever they were buying. Because you gotta remember, acid was big back then. You get a sheet of trips too.
And like good acid back then.
Well, it was. If you like your acid, it was fucking good time to be tripping.
Yeah.
But it was a period where it was, I don't know how else to explain it. It was crazy. Like it would, crew would just go, whoa. Then it'd just be like, boom. Within an hour, you just see constant lines of taxis. So next minute you got, 500, 1,000, 2,000 sometimes, depending on the size of the venue, people at these raves until they basically got shut down.
And then I was going to say, like, how long did that go with before the police really fucked it up?
I mean, in the beginning, they'd go for fucking, 24 hours easy.
No shit.
Yeah. But then the coppers started to come down hard on them, and obviously they knew, there was a lot of drugs
Drug
flooding in.
activity.
Yeah. But there was no violence.
Yeah.
There was never any violence at them. No alcohol. I mean, I'm sure people were drunk when they turned up or what have you, but that whole thing of sitting around a bar, getting pissed, looking at each other, getting grumpy, throwing punches.
I was going to say, isn't
none of that shit?
Isn't that funny, man? You don't see fights at raves where there's fucking everyone's on MDMA.
No.
And you never see 2 stoners or 3 stoners sitting around on a fucking couch fighting each other.
Imagine 3 cunts ripped off their tits on the lead and
it never happens.
Standing there having a serious face off, going, "Fuck, I'm gonna smash you."
It's impossible. It's literally impossible.
Yeah, you can't. How could you be serious? Like, let alone throw a punch with power or a kick or it doesn't ethically work.
No, that's what I mean. But like, where do you see fucking fights, man? Nightclubs where they serve
100%. You wouldn't catch me in a nightclub at all.
No, it's fucking dog shit.
Would not. Give me a backyard with some buddies and a barbecue, fucking stereo West Suite.
Yeah.
Fuck that whole scene. That's just shit.
Yeah, well, it's no secret that the fucking fighting comes from alcohol.
And fuck, once again, we can start a whole new conversation. These dog shots and one punch.
Oh.
The amount of young lives and not just young lives, fucking anybody's life that gets that one king hit from the fucking nowhere that just drops you. I mean, who the fuck's going to be able to take something that just comes blindedly, with so much force and hit you, generally around the jaw area? I think 90% of people are going to drop. When you drop, you hit the ground hard. And unfortunately, it's sad because people lost their lives. And, touch wood, we haven't heard of one for a little while now since the campaign started. Yeah. But it becomes such a thing, just piss young fuckwits, just going up and just blind shotting, dog shotting people and shit. It
seems like there is like a shift though to where that stuff is, and like you said, like, wearing colours and doing that whole thing. It's like there's an old school morality, and they were even talking to Abbo, like he wasn't the kind of guy that wanted to go out and just hit cunts for the sake of hitting people. No. But it's like, at what point did that shift?
Oh, look, I was raised old school, like men like Abbo. You know what I mean? So for me, it was embedded in me about morals. Whether you want to fucking sit there and say, you were scum, shit, whatever, and criminal, that's okay, but we probably had better morals than the average fucking person. Loyalty, respect, and the way that it's headed now with how things are done so publicly and so open, and it's everything's to be captured on fucking media, and I'm like, what the fuck, mate? Like, are you serious? So many people these days, like pulling guns and just shooting each other. Just to go to jail because their mates are fucking doing jail, and they want to be known as fucking, Mr. Gangster.
Terry Tough cunt.
Mate, it's shit. It really is. Like, what life's that? Spend the next fucking 20 years for a stupid decision. And I guarantee by the time you come out of jail, it's not going to make you any better, but it'll make you a lot more smarter to what you did.
Yeah.
Your mindset will be different, the way you think about it. And you can't tell me 100%, I know this, that 99% of people that walk out of there that aren't psychotic fucking murderers would regret pulling that trigger at that time.
Yeah.
Especially being young. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. It's not good.
So what was your, like, when did you go into prison for, like, your first sort of big...
Fucking 18. So straight off the bat. Yeah, really? I just did 18 months up at Carry On. So Carry On was a maximum security at Mount Penang. They just built some really heavy young offenders back then that had been... We were at what was called Minder at Lidcombe in Patterson. And that truck just turned up. Put us all on that, and you were just gone. We had no idea where we were going.
And so, what were you in there for?
Back then, I was done for assault and grievous bodily harm. I was done with drug supply and also armed robbery.
And then, how long did that get you?
2 years. So I got out in 18 months.
Yeah, okay. And what was that experience like then? Of like first, like,
I was starting to kick into reality because, that was coming on the end of the boys' home. So the reality was, once I hit this maximum security young offenders, that was pretty much exactly like a jail. So I'd gotten out after that one, and then basically maybe not 6-7 months I was in Long Bay. And I don't care what anyone says at 18. Fuck, it was scary.
Yeah, right.
Like I was coming on the back of a lot of an era where there was some fucking hard, dangerous men.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle of it. Like, I was just thrown in the yard. I was another criminal. I was another offender. That's it. Straight there. See you later. Just turned out that my first cellmate was Ivan Milat for the first fucking few nights.
How heavy was that experience?
I didn't know who he was the first night. And then I got in the yard and I think one of the sweepers had sort of said to me, "Oh, are you in that cell?" And I was like, "Yeah." And do you know who your sort of cellmate is? I said, "No." They said, "Oh, that's Ivan Milat." I was like, "Who the fuck's Ivan Milat?" But obviously we know who Ivan Milat is today. So anyway, yeah, I thankfully got moved the third night. I put into another wing.
What was he like as a cellmate?
Didn't talk. Didn't say a fucking word.
Really?
Didn't, mate. It was just... I thought that was just how it was because I was new and
he didn't want to talk to you?
Nah, why would you want to fucking talk to me? I'm just a young punk,
Yeah.
But apparently... a sick fuck, that's how he was.
Really? Did you hear more about him when you were in there?
Oh, obviously.
Yeah.
It was all over the media.
Was he like notorious in the prison though?
No way.
Really?
No way.
No one gave a fuck.
No, not at all. Not at all. But at 18, I was just, once I'd realised who the fuck I'd been in the same cell as, I was like, fuck, this is heavy.
Like, it gave you a reality check of like, fuck, I'm one of these dudes.
I could have been fucking just knocked right there and that was it, game over, like... Yeah, I mean, fuck.
Does it have that hierarchy and that maximum security sort of deal where you knew like who the top dogs were? Did you like,
you have to? You got to know where you stand.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's a hierarchy, and see back then you're talking about blokes like Abbo and some other hardened men, and I say Abbo only because we've just mentioned his name. I'm not going to go into sort of name dropping, but
yeah,
he was a man that stood on his own. A fucking staunch man that literally didn't need his gang. There's still staunch men in the system today, but unfortunately the jails and the system is predominantly gang affiliated. If you're not a part of a gang, you're vulnerable.
Yeah, okay.
And it's just getting worse, very much like America.
Yeah.
And it's taken us probably 10 years to catch it, but we're very close.
And so with gangs, do you mean bikies? Is that the gangs in Australia?
Naturally, there's a lot of inmates that are affiliated or club members. I mean, that's just part and parcel.
But is there other gangs in Australia? Yeah. So what other gangs are there?
Well, there's Asians, there's Islanders, there's Aboriginals. It just doesn't end. The Islamic boys have got their own crew. It's full on.
Yeah.
It really is. And then, you got your white supremacist boys too, your Anglo boys that just stick together and feel that, they're on their own, so they come together. Like, it literally, you sort of swing to whichever side that you know someone when you're close to.
Is there something that you think that, because I lived in America for 7 years, like the gang stuff's fucking no joke.
Yeah.
Like I had a few times where I got stuck in like Compton and Inglewood and stuff like that, where like I'd literally just need fuel and fuck. I got stuck in Inglewood one day. No, it was Compton because I was going to FMF, and I just didn't have enough money for gas. So I pulled over. I was only like 20 or 21. I pulled over in my fucking truck, and I just sort of slumped down in my chair, tried to be out of sight, and I waited. It was like probably 10 o'clock in the morning, and I needed my mum to transfer me money so I could get fucking fuel.
That's heavy.
So I just waited in Compton for like fucking 4 hours, because I think it was about 2 o'clock in the morning is when my mum would wake up. So I just 2 in the Arvo, sorry. So I'd waited from like 9 or 10 in the morning to 2 in the Arvo, and I just fucking slashed down in my chair. I saw some fucked up shit go down at that gas station. Like, one dude started pumping the gas, or like told his chick to pump the gas, and then she was like, she refused because she like just got her nails done or something. Like, I had the window down, so I'm hearing shit like this big ass nails.
Ain't doing that shit.
He pulled her out of the car by her fucking fake hair and just started like pumping this chick, and then like everyone stood around, no one did anything. I was just like, holy fuck, what is this place? But yeah, like you just see people just roll through. It's all just like red bandanas, blue bandanas, like just dudes fucking.
And that's the way it's been over there forever.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean, fuck, 60s and 70s. I mean, it's been going on. Like, I guess we had, you know, that sort of era where we had the surfies and the skinheads and, you know, punks and what have you in Australia, but we've never, ever been at that level.
Yeah.
And we're still not. But mentality, gang mentality is you know, getting stronger and stronger by the generation, I think.
So when you do that first 18 months and then you come out, and then where do you go from there?
Oh, fuck. Where did I go? To a garage. Lived in a garage for 6 months, like a shit. Just the side of a house, and then ended up moving on from that and just slipping back into the same sort of shit. Like,
did you have intentions when you come out to like, okay, that's it, I'm going to clean up my act, or did you feel like that you didn't know anything else?
No, like, I'll sit here and be honest now, definitely not. You know, my intentions was to come out and
just find
bigger
another,
and better than I did before.
Yeah.
And that was the whole way that it was, you know, like that was just your instant survival, right? I go back to doing what I do best and what I know. Yeah, and then obviously it leads to bigger and better things and more jail time.
Yeah. So what did you get into then?
Well, mainly it was a lot of drug distribution. That was the thing. You know, and I sort of ended up after about 12 months being under surveillance, and you know, I was being watched and sort of knew about it but didn't really care too much. You know, we had safe houses set up and we had all these sort of ways of doing things that we didn't think that we could sort of come undone, which I must say worked in a lot of ways. But, you know, in the end, like I said, we got caught.
Everyone does in the end, eh?
Yeah, so the next one was, you know, distribution again, and more assault charges, and just basically...
And so did the violence just come with the job?
It escalated, yeah. It was all part and parcel, and I mean... You had to be able to hold your own to be able to do what we were doing. Yeah. You know, if you couldn't, you just got robbed or stood over.
And who were you getting into these, like when you get charged for assault and grievous bodily harm, like who are you getting into these confrontations with?
Oh, just other people that you're fucking doing business with, other dealers, you know, like situations that, you know, might arouse over fucking money owed, or, you know, just the whole lifestyle around.
Is a violent situation.
100%. It was just all just... full on,
yeah,
you know, non-stop. And like I say, you sort of had to keep your level of notoriety up, because otherwise you'd lose your position in the pecking line, you know. You just go to the shit, and to the bottom.
And so in a way you sort of need to be known as like a violent guy, or like that you'll handle
absolutely.
Your shit.
You needed to be able to make that sort of name for yourself, at, you know,
because that's the vibe.
Fuck with him.
That's the vibe that I got off Abbo, is that like he would just do what it took to keep himself as the guy that people knew not to fuck with.
Exactly. And you can't. That's exactly how it was.
And like, there's no faking that, right?
No, exactly. And I mean, it's like Abbo. You know, he's the man that he is. There's no fucking bullshit or punches pulled. You You get to a point, I guess, where a lot of people bullshit their way through, and there comes to a point where the fucking bullshit stops.
Yeah, it has to stop, and then you're faced with,
You got to either back it, or you just fucking, you're going to really soon enough know that, people just aren't going to cop your shit.
Yeah.
It's very, very quickly changes.
And you went from when you said that when you were a kid, you sort of felt like you're a bit soft as a kid. When did it change to then when you were sort of prepared to like do that kind of shit?
I truly believe from that time that I, turned up the second time after I'd been stood over for my shoes and, hit that glass Coke bottle on the ground and did what I did with it. For me, that was the turning point of...
Really?
Well, it sort of gave me a sense of they will not fuck with me again. I will not lose another pair of shoes, I won't get stood over again. And from there on in, it just grew with me and inside me that, I was going to be this beast.
And, that's fucking gnarly, eh? That you can pinpoint that moment of a kid. It's like where you almost lose your innocence.
I think you got to suit, for me, particularly in my life, I've had to do a lot of I guess self-care and acknowledgement and acceptance within myself.
Yeah.
To do that, to better me as a human today. And come forward from everything that, I'd done and been through was going back to the core of everything.
Yeah.
As far back as I could remember, bringing it all back up again, bringing it out, and just throwing it all away.
Yeah.
And not only that too, these days, your mind's a lot clearer.
Yeah.
You're fucking healthier. The drugs aren't in my system.
Yeah.
I'm not off my head. I'm a healthy man that has a clear mind and vision, so I can, bring those thoughts back that probably were a lot clouded.
Yeah.
Many years ago, because you suppress so much shit,
When did the drugs you start? And what stuff were you doing?
Mate, look, speed was the thing back in the day initially. You drink and take speed, and the speed would keep you awake.
So you just keep working?
Well, you just,
or did you just need to like stay alert?
That was, for me, it was about being alert.
Yeah, okay. Because I could see that where it's like, take some speed, and you're up, and no cunt's coming to fuck with you. Because really, when some cunt going to come get you?
That was exactly
5
what
o'clock
it was
in the
about.
morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You don't want to be tired as a fucking gangster.
No. And you were a street kid back then. I wouldn't even sort of use that word gangster. It didn't exist. It was just a street kid. But it was a very volatile place to be.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, it was some of the things that, I'd seen over the years. I was seeing death before I was even 15.
In what capacity
just
were you seeing
people
that?
just fucking OD'd in the gutter. People that have been bashed, to basically bleed out. Like, it was full on. King's Cross back in the days, in the city and around Redfern and Glebe, mate, they were fucking hectic. It was very dangerous. So you sort of wanted to make sure that you're in with people that knew people or, were locals within that area. Otherwise, you're a chance of ending up just like that person that, you've seen before. And
did the drug use sort of spiral to like a pretty bad point, do you reckon? Or were you ever a drug addict in a word?
Yeah, I would say that. Addict to the point where I mentally felt that I needed it. I don't believe that I was a physically addicted addict, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It was more a part of your mentality.
Yeah, I've always been able to be headstrong in that sense that I have never been totally dependent on something like that. I don't know how to put it into words, but
I kind of get what
mentally,
you're saying.
I felt that I needed to have it, but I don't believe that my body back then was. I wasn't addicted as such, like a junkie, if you put it that way. You know?
Yeah, you were like a functioning drug addict.
But I had to have it.
Yeah.
I had to have that high.
And it was always just speed.
Back then it was, and like I was saying, then once the ecstasy sort of started coming out, I had a bad experience on the acid, so I sort of just fucking knocked it right on the head. Same with the pot. I just couldn't afford to be paranoid. I couldn't. Yeah. I couldn't afford to sort of drop my game.
What did the acid do to you?
Oh, fuck.
I love hearing chicken stories.
Yeah, so I remember I had these double dip strawberries and we'd got them and someone said, I'll just take half one. I was like, fuck that. Back in the day, we used to go, we had a bottle shop where we could sneak in and sneak bottles of cases of Jack Daniel cans, and JD cans. And So that was us, and we'd sneak in, we'd rob them, no one would even know, this back room, and then we'd fuck off to the local park and get on the acid and sink piss and run them up. Anyways, the boys were all cool. Well, I took this trip and had drunk too much.
So what did you take, 2?
No, I just took 1, but it was what they called a double dip.
Okay.
So I felt this trip coming on, and I just fucking started losing my mind. I remember it as clear as day, because I remember running around in circles, and I couldn't stop running around in circles, holding my head going, get me to hospital, get me to hospital, get me to hospital. Every time I just thought I was being a fuckwit,
Yeah.
But I truly was starting to lose my shit. One of the boys' mum was an old hippie, and she didn't live far. Like, they lived just up the road, and he's going, fucks, come, we'll get you to my mum. I'm like, just get me to hospital, and he wouldn't let me go to hospital, obviously, because they would have sort of been sussing where the drugs come from and all this sort of shit, who's involved. So we went to my mate's mum, and she calmed me down, and she made me drink 2 litres of fucking pure orange juice.
Really?
And I'll tell you now, bro, it brought me out of the trip.
No shit.
I swear by it. Don't take trips, but if you ever get stuck in a trip, drink some pure orange juice. Apparently the acid in the orange juice neutralizes the acid in the trip and brings it back to a level that's a balance.
Fuck.
And it did, yeah. So, but that was it for me.
But you felt like you were losing your mind.
Oh fuck, I was losing my mind, man. I was
really
tripping. If you put it, yeah. Well,
were you getting like crazy visuals and shit as well?
No, I never ever got to that point. That was the thing. I didn't. Well, I say I didn't. I probably did, but I don't think I did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
For
me, it was just my head was cooking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'd been laughing my ass off so much before, and my jaw was hot and tight. I was just. Then I could just feel this fucking.
Just super intense.
Yeah, and it was just totally out of my depth.
Yeah, and once you get to that point where you're like start really worrying about shit,
you talk your shit into it. You talk
hard,
yourself into a really bad state of mind.
Yeah. Have you ever done mushrooms?
No.
Yeah. See, I feel like that's a bit more of a pleasant experience, like a more of a gentle, and because like even like we did mushrooms the other night, and one of my buddies hadn't done them before, and he's like. He said it's like doing really good ecstasy, but it feels like it's natural.
Yeah, well, they reckon that it's fucking something they're going to start looking at to help with mental health issues.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's
the psychedelic side of it. Like,
yeah. Even taking like say half a gram of, so like 2 grams is considered a recreational dose. So you're going to start to get some visuals and shit like that. But if you take half a gram of mushrooms, you're in a fucking great mood.
So when you say about like visuals, right? Now this has been my thing because I've never experienced the visuals, and I've never tripped to the point where it's like, man, fucking wow. What's the visuals? Like, I've heard some funny stories, but I reckon most people talk shit.
Nah, it's fucking it's legit. Like
is it?
So I was texting my missus, and so she was talking to me about some like serious shit. And I'm like, oi, Rick, I fucking can't, like I have to not text you anymore. And I'm texting her, and it looked like I had one thumb that was just like...
the big thumb.
Yeah, like just... And then like my screen was coming out at me, and it was funny. So my professor, like my jiu-jitsu professor, he changed my background of the phone to like me and him. I just won like a gold medal, and it was me and him. And he's on my phone, and he's coming out at me. I'm like, fucking get out of here, cunt. Like, but yeah, it
does happen.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. And like my mate that I was with, like, it's funny, like we were going like full serious, like deep and meaningful conversation. And then he just starts pissing himself laughing at me.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, cause that's when it really hit for him. And he was just like, oh fuck. And I was already pretty gone. And his face looked like, well, you know Wallace and Gromit, the cartoon?
Oh, bullshit.
You know how the mouth is like real...
Just started warping.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, man. So like I've just got this image of... And every time he laughs now, I just get this flashback of this Wallace and Gromit face. And then there was like a point where... he's got like this kind of slick back haircut, and he actually is a German dude. And I was just like, cunt, you're an SS soldier right now. Like,
wow.
So, but it's funny though, because what my friend said about it's like ecstasy, but it feels like natural. So it's like you take, it's like hard to explain, but like you take like magnesium tablet or something as opposed to taking like a Celebrex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the Celebrex is like a chemical that's made in a pharmaceutical plant. There's something about it that it feels like you're taking a pill that is in like a chemical form.
Yep.
Whereas I think that you take like magnesium supplement or something like a herbal thing.
Yeah.
Then it's, or even like CBD, for instance, it just feels natural.
Fucking CBD is the best thing. Like, look, if you haven't found a better way for your fucking like pain and suffering or your mental health.
Do you feel like it helps you with the anxiety or like any some mental stuff?
For sure. As I said, I've never been a smoker because I can't handle that stone, you know. I don't like that fucking feeling. I like to be in control of what's going on, you know, but being aware and alert as well as enjoying myself. I never got that, you know, from weed. I wigged out. I was that guy that went green and fucking everyone's laughing at me, you know, while they were getting the munchies.
Yeah.
So it was something that I never wanted to try again. But after these last, say 6 months, especially off the back injury, I didn't want to become dependent on pain relief pharmaceuticals. You know, and they had me on the oxys, and I think for about the first, because I couldn't walk for nearly 2 months. So for the first probably 3 weeks, you know, I was taking oxys, and I could feel within myself that I was changing. You know, like, and I said to my wife,
yeah, shit's fucking bad, man.
Fuck this.
It's taken a lot of people down.
I'm getting off this shit. Well, I know people personally that it grabbed good people that it just destroyed them for many years. They're good now, but it really affected them. So I'd had that.
Just fucked their life, man. They were these top athletes. They were killing it millions of dollars, and now they're fucking junkies.
Yeah, and I know, exactly. And there's people I know, but you know, it's, I guess, then you realise that you could become that person.
In a heartbeat.
A lot of people don't grab a hold of it there and then and say, fuck this, I ain't going to do this, I'm going down that road. People just go, well, it's all good. It's all good. But it's not.
Mm.
And I was aware of that.
The problem is they feel so fucking good. So
but it's a great feeling. It's like, you know, I don't know how you can describe. You talk about fucking the feeling of ecstasy. Well, you know, having an oxy's like just fucking feeling so chilled.
Oh, it's amazing.
You know, and it is a great feeling, but that's the point of the addiction, is it feels so good. My thing was, I didn't realise how quick it had absorbed into your bones and your fucking body, and you all of a sudden had these withdrawals, man. Like, I thought within 3 weeks I'd be sweet, just fucking, mate, I was in the horrors, and I could only imagine how others that have been addicted to, you know, highly dependent drugs or pharmaceuticals for many years, what they now go through.
Yeah.
Long and short of it all, I pushed through it, and I'm so grateful. And I went to Nimbin. I said to my wife, I'm going to Nimbin, I'm going to go try and find a better way, a natural way. So I went down to Nimbin, the old hemp embassy, and got the old Uncle Tom's, and, you know, I was having a couple of drops of oil a night, and all of a sudden, like, he'd had THC in it. Fuck, I was so stoned, man. Like 4 or 5 hours on the bus, and there's no hitting the fucking butt that says stop. It's just hang the fuck on. So I sort of thought, fuck, this is too much for me. It's not me, you know. So it was by sheer chance, I got speared into somebody whom was able to obtain high quality pure CBD. Yeah. And he gave me a bottle and he said, look, just try it. If it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think deep down he knew that it would work for you. And I kid you not, I went a week and a half without it the last 6 months, and I totally felt so much sort of aches and pains that I didn't have whilst taking the CBD. And it's, you know, there's no high, there's no stone. It doesn't exist. So for everybody out there that feels that you're going to get high, it's bullshit.
I've given it to my mum and dad.
No, fuck
and
me,
they're
mate.
So anti-drugs, it's not even
100%.
funny.
I mean, I know people now that I've helped and linked into, you know, CBD, and they're forever grateful. And there's, like, I function. I've had my drops this morning, you know, half an eyedropper under the tongue. Fuck, I'm fine. Yeah. But absolutely known a massive difference. My kids notice, you know, my kids obviously don't know what, you know, dad's taken us in CBD, but they noticed that I'm a lot calmer. Yeah. I'm able to chill. I'm enjoying things, you know. I'm a different sort of person to the highly strung, short sort of... Bipolar, yeah. Like instant sort of... I couldn't sit here having this conversation for ages with you. Yeah. I'd be like in and, yeah, be all cool. And I'd be like, fucking tap, got to get out of here.
If you had to guess, how long do you think we've been going for?
I don't know, fucking 45 minutes an hour.
2 hours and 4 minutes.
Fuck me.
Yeah. It's crazy, eh?
Wow. But see, that just goes to show, you know, like, you can just chill and have a conversation. Yeah. And that's what it's all based around, is just fucking... just having a chat.
I would like to I'd like to get a different. Like I might try to get some CBD where you get some from because I've got some and I don't. It definitely hasn't worked for me as crazy as I hear other people.
Yeah.
But the smoking definitely does, and I feel all the benefits of what people say they get from CBD from the THC as well. But the problem with the THC is that like the people that are growing weed for people to get stoned, they're basically trying to get the most amount of THC into that plant as possible and as little CBD. So a lot of, I think where people say like, oh, I fucking freak out, it's because they're smoking super high THC concentration and like not very much CBD.
Yep.
And I know that when I've got stoned and had CBD at the same time, it takes away a lot of that.
I was actually reading something the other day about that it actually, if you get too high,
you take some
CBD and it fucking brings you back.
Yeah, but see, I don't. For whatever reason, I'm cool with just being like extremely fucking stoned. Like that, I don't mind that ride at all. Like, and I've got other friends that they're like that as well. But it wasn't like that at the start though. Like it took like, I was telling my friend the other day because it's the same. And I'll never tell people. I'll never tell people like, oh no, yeah, it's fucking made. It's not, because it's not for everyone.
No.
But I think there is a bit of a misconception out there of people think that they either can or can't. But for me, like I remember that one of the first times I got like super stoned, I was with my friends in the States, and our van broke down in Vegas. My buddy had a weed card. He's a full stoner. Like he stoned all day, every day. One of the best people I've ever met in my life. One of the best photographers in the world as well. And
it's amazing, isn't it? But the fact of how people being stoned, I'm not talking about high on, all these other drugs as such. I'm just talking about, weed. But being stoned on weed, and it brings out their absolute best creativity, or their most, like I know a lot of fighters that love just being stoned and training.
Yeah.
Because they're onto it, they're just, everything's smooth and just super calm, super cool. Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Heaps of fucking jiu-jitsu dudes smoke weed.
Dude, me and my buddy
go out and roll around. Like,
yeah, me and my buddy, we smoked a joint together and we rolled for like an hour and 45 minutes straight.
Fucking had a hell time too.
The whole mat was fucking saturated with sweat. Like we almost died of dehydration. But it was awesome. You just, you do get into that flow. But like, people, there's definitely people that are like, I just can't smoke. But like, it's not like, I don't think it's like drinking where it's like you drink and you can sort of feel your level and you can you can't, if you're sitting with a person that smokes weed and you've got a joint, you can't smoke half that joint and go back and forward with that person that smokes regularly. No. Like you need to take, anyone that is going to do weed, you take one puff and then you just see how it goes for like 15 minutes. Because once you're on that fucking bus, you're on the bus and you don't get off until it stops. No. So it's not a hero thing. It's not you just take one fucking puff and you see how you go. And you'll get to a point, and then if you want to go a little bit deeper, it's like a fucking pool. You know what I mean? You don't just dive straight into the deep end of the pool.
No, you got to test the waters.
Yeah, you just dip a toe in and then, you sort of slowly creep in. So I think that's like, in my experience with people that have said like, I can't smoke weed or fucking whatever, it's that they have just gone like super deep. And then
100%.
And you just don't know how to navigate that headspace.
It fucks with your head because you never want to go back there again. So you just, like for me personally, I just don't smoke. Yeah. Like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'll have a toke of a vape that's got, pure oil in it. It's a different high. You're not high as in so ripped. You fucking just don't know what's going on.
Well, it's just you can moderate it so much easier. It's control,
but I mean, it's more therapeutical. It's beneficial to relax your body. I don't know, man, but.
Well, that's like Ryan Gambin.
Life's good.
Well, that's like Ryan Gambin. He come on.
Ryan.
You know Ryan?
Well, no, him and his sister and his family a long time.
Oh, well, like he come on and he talked about, it's literally like a part of his health routine. Like he doesn't look at it as like he's doing drugs. No. It's like his nightly health routine. It's like he has his protein shake, he has his magnesium, he has his head of his pen, and then he goes to bed and he wakes up and then he goes
an athlete, like a machine.
And he done the research.
Absolutely.
He's not putting, that dude is a fucking beast. He's not putting anything in his body that he hasn't got down to the milligram and measured and knows exactly what it's going to do.
Have you noticed his Insta in the last couple of days?
His what?
His Instagram in the last couple of days.
Yeah, what are you saying about it?
Oh, have you seen how he just walks out of the water with his fucking shirt off?
Oh, yeah.
He's obviously got someone filming it and he's just like...
Well, he's got I think he's got that houseboat going now.
Something's going down.
Yeah, fucking... Shout out to Ryan, I love that.
I'm like, righto, bro.
He's doing the damn thing.
What's that guy that just made that movie, the Hawaiian guy, the fucking beast? What was it? Aquaman. You know how he comes out of the water?
Jason Momoa.
The only difference is their hair and tattoos, but fuck, he's just like straight out of the water. Yeah, Gambo.
He's a fucking legend, eh?
Good guy.
But yeah, it's definitely the CBD thing's definitely starting to change, like you see in so many athletes in the US. I think that the one of the basketball college conferences, CBD MD, they're like a medical sort of CBD firm in the US.
Yeah. I've seen their advertisements.
Yep. They're now a sponsor of the basketball series. So it's
that just puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Like
yeah.
It really does. Like why would you have something to degrade such a high-end sport that's going to bring, bad vibes or negativity, by sponsoring.
Exactly. The research has been done now.
You really got to look at it and say, well, if that's where it's at on a professional level,
it
speaks for itself. Look, as I said, for me personally, I'm so grateful that, I've been able to find something that works for me that I know has changed my life.
Yeah.
For the better.
I'll have to. I'll try some of the stuff that you've got then. And
I'm happy to let you know who it is.
Yeah, I'm definitely out. I just haven't had like the crazy benefits of it yet, but I'd like to still sort of keep figuring it out because there is a lot of that trial and error.
It's like anything in life,
you've got to really sort of figure it out.
Yeah, you just got to work it out what works for you. For me, I needed at my age something to help me through the injury, something to calm my mind because. Like I said, I'm pretty highly strung when it comes to needing to do something. I've got to be busy. I've got to be doing something active that's going to exert myself or have a challenge or have a goal. It's just who I am.
It's one of the big things that I've noticed with your with what you do is that you seem to have put a big part with physical activity as a treatment for your bipolar.
Exactly.
Is that because, man, like...
That's the only thing that initially gave me a space to breathe. Do you know what I mean? Like...
Oh, mate, I'm 100%
I literally need to exercise or, be active daily. So, for every hour of high intensity activity gives us 12 hours of positive chemical release within the brain. Why wouldn't you fucking do it for an hour of your day to know that you're going to feel great? I mean, we talked about in the beginning the positivity about different posts and stuff like this. Life ain't fucking perfect.
They're always when you're outside too. Yeah, and they're always when you're out doing something.
It's when my mind and I feel good and I feel that somebody else can benefit from what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling. Like I've said before, if I connect with one person and change their way of thinking on that day, then that's a win. If you can reach out to that one person in their darkest hour and their time of need and change their train of thought from that moment of feeling no one gives a fuck, I'm out, it's done, I'm out of here. And instantly by just them looking at that moment, you might be just a fucking clown, but it could change someone's day because they might just think, what a fucking idiot. Boom. 1 minute they're thinking about taking their life, next minute they're laughing at your stupidity or your positivity. And they're taking something out of it, and then all of a sudden that train of thought goes to a totally different direction. Yeah. And they're still here. And it might be enough sort of for them to go, hey, I need to go speak to someone. Or just give them a different perspective of where they're at. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
For no other reason. I couldn't give a fuck what people think. And I do. I make a fuckwit of myself sometimes. And I actually quite like it because, as I say, it helps to make somebody else's day a better day.
Yeah. What was your experience with suicide?
Is it something is funny about it? Like it's always very. Look, I'm talking about only because I'm hoping that once again it'll help somebody else through their experience.
I've got someone that, a friend of mine that well, it's actually one of my girlfriend's friends. Her brother just tried to kill himself the other day. Obviously what Sonny's going through. And then you've got, I just had a friend fly down for a funeral for a 28-year-old guy. These are all young men.
It's very common.
You know, it's like, and you obviously don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
All I can say is this: I'm here for a reason.
Yeah, 100%.
3 attempts in my younger years, right up till my early 20s. The last one were all very serious, and how the fuck I didn't follow through, or how I didn't complete what I set out to do at that moment in my life, I can't answer, but I'm here. And that was part of my healing as well, because I felt that I could actually go back and look at that and say, well, you didn't die. And one of them in particular was an absolute extreme. And we sort of don't go into the hows and the whys, because I would hate to trigger somebody else at this present moment that may be listening. So, with due respect to suicidality, I'll just say that, yeah, they were very, very full-on moments that, would end your life instantly.
What sort of headspace were you in for that?
Fuck, mate, dark. Nothing mattered. Like, you're numb. You don't see any out. There's no light. It's just dark, a tunnel of just fucking numbness. People say, yeah, but what about this? What about that? You don't think of that at the time. It's not something that's in you or on your mind. It's just you're hurting, you're pain, you're just. It's numbing. It's dark, and you're just looking for a release. And it just gets to the point where you become so engulfed in what's going on that you lose that mindset of I can get help.
Yeah.
You lose that strength to be able to just get up. Go somewhere, walk away from it, you just, it doesn't happen. Yeah, it's pretty fucked.
And when you lived through those attempts, when you come on the other side of that, what's the feeling of being alive after you've thought that you were going to be gone?
Let me put it to you this way. It'll never leave you.
It's like a trauma.
It is. It never leaves you. The scariest part about it is that you go against everything that you know in living to not do, by attempting or taking your life. And the biggest thing is not going back there. So it's like anything, like you hit a 50-foot, 60-foot jump, you know what I mean? You land it. You fucking do the next side. You'll hit the 70, you'll hit the, whatever it is, it just keeps growing, increasing. Where do you go once you attempt that? You lose that fear factor. You lose that, no, I don't, I can't, and I won't. Because you've been there and you know that you can. Like it.
Like is it almost like it's scarring to have, it's like if I've tried it once, I could try it again.
Well, you don't fear it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You don't fear it. What's there to fear? Like you get to that point where you know that you could push yourself to the end. It's somewhere I never want to go again. I'll do everything in my power to not let myself go down that road again.
Did you feel like you had your control and you just let yourself go down that path?
You got no control once you get to a certain point. Your mind just, your body and your mind just, you lose who you are.
Yeah.
You're numbed. There's no emotion. There's nothing.
And then, so on that, you said that last time, and then you wake up. Do you have like a conscious decision to say from right away, like, do you have like a moment of clarity of like, okay, I'm never going there again. I'm never going to do that. Or do you just slowly get better?
It's a long time. It's a healing process. It's, you got to start to structure, put things in place, start to, have a support network, educate yourself.
And did you go, was that like your last time out of prison, or did you go back into prison after that? Or sort of like what happened in your life after that last time? Yeah, so I did
go back into prison. I got 6 years for commercial drug importation. My partner and I had a 3-month-old daughter. I'd had my son to an ex-partner. She was 4 months pregnant. And
your partner you're with now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome that she stuck through that.
Yeah, so 2 days ago was the 9th year anniversary of that occurring and me being completely free of that for the last 3 years. So
yeah,
it's for us. It's a memory that'll never go. You know, it's something that changed our life. It's helped me to be here now. It's helped me for us to have this conversation. But fuck, man, it was it was a pretty heavy time. Do
you think that going back for those 6 years like helped you heal? Like, did that give you
Absolutely.
time?
I don't think I'd be here alive had I not.
So you think you needed to go back
absolutely,
to prison?
Everything happened for a reason. I had a really bad coke habit, you know, like I was crazy. I was driving around loaded up with guns. I was doing some really fucked up shit. You know, I needed to be pulled up.
Yeah.
Either I was going to die or I could have hurt somebody else, you know. So it was a matter of time. The time came and basically I the way it happened, I knew that it was going to happen. Something had happened.
What's that? That you get incarcerated again?
Oh, sorry, I just got to move and shuffle.
Right. Yeah.
Like I knew with the importation that there was something off about it. The consignment company had accidentally contacted me on the Friday telling me that customs had pulled the shipping container back. So I knew there was something off, and I still went down there.
You can't bail out of it.
Well,
at that point?
I chose not to, and I got caught. So I got caught. That's it. End of story. There was nobody else charged as such with me. So, you know, it was what it was. But I felt that... I remember going and seeing a close mate of mine and saying to him, look after my family. It's like, what the fuck, mate? You're off your head. Like, get your shit together. I said, mate, just listen to me. I'm not going to be here for a long time. And he's like, Simmo, you're being a fuckwit. Like,
yeah, just
chill out, mate. I said, look, I just come to tell you I love you, bro, and please just look out for Sods and the kids. I left. And I got on a plane and I went to Sydney and I was under surveillance from the time I left the Gold Coast to the time I'd fucking got into the shipping container that night, and a full fucking squad just jumped out of nowhere. I've never seen anything like it.
So you knew you were going to
I was gone. I knew
busted.
I was gone.
So why'd you go?
Because I just felt that I had to for closure. I needed to, you know, I needed change in my life. And at the same time too, I knew that if I hadn't have gone there, it could have opened up Pandora's box on a bigger scale, and just so many other variables. I, in a way, felt that it just is what had to happen.
Yeah. And
on the other side of it, me personally, I was sort of like relieved.
Like, I need to go to jail and fucking fix
I was
my
relieved,
shit.
mate. Like, I was fucking... It's a crazy life.
Was it like a way out then? Was that almost like you were searching for a way out of that life, and that was it?
My opportunity was to go to jail and do the time.
Yeah, and then come out and clean slate.
Make yourself a better person from it. You know, I had to get my mental health in order. I needed to find purpose. And I needed to, become a better man, to become a better father, a better human, a better fucking person all the way around. I'd never dealt with, my sexual abuse. So much trauma that I had suppressed.
Have you spoken much about that?
Oh, heaps. Publicly I've been okay. Like, my story's out there now. I've stood in front of fucking thousands of people over the last, few years. It's been nationally documented through, documentaries through SBS. And
was that part of the healing process, like talking about
definitely.
it?
Yeah, and I'm not ashamed of it either,
happened?
In what way?
Like, what was the abuse?
Oh, I'm not going to go into that. That's something it's still...
Yeah, so you don't talk about that side of it?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No, that's something I'll never...
Yeah, that makes sense.
It rattles me.
Yeah.
But speaking about it happening...
The fact that
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But, fuck, it gets gnarly. If you want to go into detail, it's just, something that I'd...
Oh, I don't need to go into any more detail.
No, but like as a man, like it's,
because I spoke to... fuck, man. It's
rattles me a bit, but
it's no joke,
I'm okay being that guy that actually puts his hand up and say, like, I'm here and I've gone through it, and if there's somebody else that's fucking struggling that, needs to speak up, then speak up, because it's a fucking dog act.
Yeah, and I imagine
you're a scumbag, mate, if you're molesting children.
And especially the trauma that it then leaves, because I can imagine if it was like especially a man, to have like a male that goes through to do that then can make you question so much of your own, like,
I have
worth as a man
I've only
in a way.
probably in the last 5 years I've been comfortable cuddling and holding my children.
Yeah, see, that's
like
fucked.
Physically, actually, you know, snuggling in and giving my boys a kiss. You know, like not for any other reason. Just I just
You feel fucked
felt
about it.
fucked
Yeah,
and
yeah.
shit. My oldest son really felt that. You know, that disconnection of affection because I just couldn't.
But it makes so much sense, man.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense that you would be very fucked up over that.
Yeah.
Because at what point, you know, in your mind is that, you know, well, obviously bringing back memories, but then you're like, where's the fucking line to you that someone that has been on the most extreme end of that situation, you know?
You know, the hardest thing for me was I remember reaching out and trying to tell my father at the time that this abuse was occurring, and you know, as I told him, he looked at me, you know, he was sort of drunk and pissed off that I would even say this about the neighbours, you know, and just backhanded me straight off the fucking veranda. And that's as far as it got, you know, and it went on for so long, you know, 100%, which makes you know, become angry and you build up hatred. My first couple of times in jail, I used to sit there praying to God that these two perpetrators would come into jail because I had every intentions of killing them.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad that those actions never took place. But my mindset
and fuck, bro, like, I
prayed that these would walk past my path.
And is that not justified? Like, I can't sit here and say that I would be any different than
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. I mean, for me to heal as a human and for me to be able to move forward and be a better father and a man, I've had to let go of that anger, you know, and not feel like a victim. And look, someone said to me the other day, we were talking about this with the young blokes, and one of the young blokes just straight out, he said, "So, Simmo, if they walked around this corner right now, how would you react?"
Yeah, fuck.
Fuck, mate, what a cool call, because, you know, that's a fair question. I can't say I wouldn't react.
Yeah.
But I don't put myself in positions or places where I would ever think that, that we'd ever cross paths. So for me, that's okay to live with that. If I was to ever go back within a certain area or knowledgeable place of where I knew that them or their family had lived.
Yeah.
And while I'm a bit of a fuckwit for going back there and wasting all the good years that I've put into bettering myself.
Yeah. To so then put yourself in that position, yeah.
So I think it's part of moving forward and healing.
It's such a... that's such a big fucking call to even say that you can heal from something like that.
You have to. You know, like I have to be a better human. I have to let it go. Never forget it. Never forgive. But I'm okay with talking about it right now. Allows me to be able to move forward from it. Every time the conversation's had, gives me more strength.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I become a stronger man because I've been able to let it out.
Well, I mean, I think it's powerful that you've even consider and say it, you know. And I think that, man, it's fucking conversations like this that I just can't, like, even I know from the messages I get, the feedback I get, like, this stuff impacts people so much. Like this, hearing about things like you just don't know what people are going through. If I saw you walking down the street getting a coffee at Burley, I would not think he's a victim of sexual abuse. But you are. And it's like, you don't know all of these fucking people that you cross paths with every day, everyone that's sitting next to you at the traffic lights.
Fuck, sit on a bus. Out of all those people on a plane,
bus,
how many people in that bus are right there suffering because of fucking sexual abuse or their mental health? Or you don't know, you know? And I think that's why, as humans, we've got to fucking realise that, you know, smile. Yeah. Say g'day.
And I think that...
ask someone, how you going?
And I think conversations like this can give context that, like, it can be the big burly fucking looking dude that's got the tattoos and, you know, was in the bikie gangs and all that shit. Like, it can be that guy that has these issues. Like, it makes people feel... Because I think some of the things that... What I've taken out of doing the podcast and when these conversations have come up and then I get feedback is that people think that they're alone in struggling. And they think that they think that they're weak for feeling what they're doing, and they think that they're just these average fucking Joes, and this is what's happening to them. And it's because their life's not great. It's because they're not the fucking Robbie Madisons jumping over the fucking bridge. They're not the ex-bikie fucking dude that has had that craziest life.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't happen to them. It happens to the people like me. It fucking does happen to them.
Happens
it happens to everybody.
Yep.
Everybody will struggle with this at some point. Like, you're not alone.
I love that word. You're not alone. So that was the motto of the charity that I started. You're not alone. 100%. That's the one most powerful sentence, you know. You're not alone.
Mm-mm.
Simple as that. And, you know, I only started to understand that when I was able to talk about it.
Mm.
You know, and I sort of thought to myself, in the big picture of things, was if someone like me that could have walked the path that I've walked, being the man that I was, actually sit there and not be scared to speak about my own personal journey, then surely it's got to help somebody else to realise that they're not alone.
Mm.
Move forward.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And I think that as soon as you give, it's like you're almost giving people like a license to speak about it in a way.
Well, you are. I mean, look, like I said earlier, you know, I'm not one to sit here and fucking commend anybody that tells on anybody for anything, but fucking stand up if you're being abused or sexually abused, and, you know, mate, you've got every right to speak up. And know that there's people out there that have gone through it that didn't have the opportunity to have the support that's there today.
Yeah.
You know, find that strength.
Have you seen a pretty massive change in, I guess, I don't want to call it like an industry, but there almost is like an industry of people that are trying to help. And, you know, like we said, like the suicide rate
amongst... I was going to stand up for a sec. My back's fucking wigging.
Oh, dude, those chairs are fucked. Sorry, bro.
That's all right. I can still...
Just go back on the squeaky chair for a minute.
That was so much comfier.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, dude.
What time are we at?
2 hours and 30. We can wrap it up soon if you've got to go.
What's the actual time?
12:48.
Oh, fuck.
You got to go?
No, just cut it for 2 seconds, can we?
Yeah, just do whatever. Yeah, no, you're good. You got to be somewhere?
I was at 1:15.
Oh, well, what time is it? 12:48. We can wrap it up now if you want. We've definitely...
I've just still got to let him know.
Oh, yeah. No, all good. It's all good. Well, we can wrap it up. I'll get you back on whenever you want, man.
Yeah, sweet.
All right. Well, I think you've got someone to be now. We've gone for 2.5 hours. We've fucking knocked it out. So I really appreciate you coming on.
I'm stoked.
I'm looking forward to now. Yeah, following you into the future. I only, like I said, I sort of only just got turned on to you and your story. But yeah, I'm excited to now have a friendship and sort of move forward and like see what you are able to achieve in these coming years, and everything that you've achieved with the life that you sort of lived and grew up in and all the things you've overcome. I'm excited to see what can come out of such a sort of a gnarly existence and the good that you can do in the world, for sure.
I'm really honoured, as I said, to be here and to, you know, be a part of Gypsy Tales podcast, because at the end of the day, you know, you run a great podcast that it's really valuable to a lot of people, and, you know, the people that you have on here are very valued people, what they offer and what they bring. And I just hope that this podcast gives somebody, you know, some value from sharing my life story. And I mean, I never came here to talk up, be big, be anything else. No. If anything, I'm here to just show that you can be humble, and that life's good, and, you know, you're not alone.
No, I really appreciate it, mate. Well,
legend.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Sorry for cooking you back with that shitty chair.
Oh, good, bro.
And yeah, we'll do it again, man. We'll new studio will be up and running. So
yeah, let's do it.
Maybe next time you got some fucking crazy idea.
Let's get really stoned and do it.
Yeah, whenever you want, bro. I'm down. Righto, man. Thank you very much.
Cheers, fella.
Appreciate it.